Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be another episode of Reforge Gaming News, breaking down the Unreal 5 engine release, the news. There's a bunch of games that are also making announcements coinciding with this and saying, hey, we're going to be using Unreal 5. Here's why. We've actually covered some of those announcements prior to today. If you enjoy these streams, make sure and hit subscribe and the bell button. Check out all the links below if you want to support the stream directly or support any of the sponsors. We always try to start with this little breakdown so you can get all the information before we jump into the discussion and the rest of the live stream. This is a Reforge update. The Unreal 5 engine has officially released, and the announcement was jam-packed full of footage as well as other gaming announcements from other developers. If you enjoy these quick updates, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you don't miss these uploads, or check out Reforge Gaming where I do my live streams. So this was covered by virtually every outlet that covers gaming, so we wanted to make sure and do a quick breakdown. I pulled this from The Verge. Nearly 2 years after it was first announced, Epic Games has released its next generation game engine. As part of a State of Unreal event, the company revealed that Unreal Engine 5 is now available to download, and obviously this means that indie developers of really any size can start taking a crack at building their game or porting their game over into Unreal 5. Now, what does it add? According to the article, the updated engine features a number of improvements for developers, including enhanced performance and an upgraded UI, but the most significant changes come from a handful of technologies designed for more photorealistic visuals. These include Lumen, a quote, fully dynamic global illumination solution for more true-to-life lighting, and Nanite, which Epic says, quote, gives you the ability to create games and experiences with massive amounts of geometric detail. These are also more practical, there are also more practical tools like the ability to partition off sections of an open world to make it easier for teams to work on areas independently. There's great footage in their video that we're going to break down on gaming, and they're just moving stuff around in the open world. It looks really, really intuitive and very, very nice for creating a vibrant, dynamic, organic feeling open world with like random pieces of stuff in different areas. Now, who is using it? Because there certainly were other announcements about that. So who is using it? Altogether, these tools are expected to make it easier to make large-scale games at high fidelity. CD Projekt Red has already confirmed it's using the tool to build the next Witcher. We covered that announcement and actually sort of pinpointed CD Projekt Red's defense of Cyberpunk, sort of saying, listen, we've upgraded our engine every time we've done a new game, but it's really time to make a really big decision, and these decisions need to be made very early on. So they're both sort of saying, this is why we're switching to Unreal 5, but also sort of trying to defend Cyberpunk, which is funny enough. Cyberpunk didn't run very well, and to this day still has some performance issues. Now, last December, Fortnite, this is Epic's game, they actually moved over to Unreal 5, and at the same time they released the Matrix Awakens demo. It was a very, very impressive tech demo. We actually used that picture, like a picture of Keanu's face, from the engine for our thumbnail over on Reforge Gaming. Also, Epic released a sample multiplayer shooter called Lyra, or Lyra, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, probably Lyra. It's built in UE5, which looks a lot like Unreal Tournament and is something the developer says can be a, quote, hands-on learning resource for gaming creators. So you can download that, poke around with it, and play with it. Some of the areas certainly look like Unreal Tournament if you remember some of the classic CTF environments. I believe this will change gaming, but there's always a but. Processing power is always the bottleneck when game companies and developers and technology innovation really drives performance of the games up. My question is, will the PS5 and the Xbox Series X almost immediately lose their edge? Are we going to start losing consistent frames per second and getting that nice 60 FPS that so many games are bragging about? Are we going to immediately lose that because developers get extremely excited about all the things they can do with the engine? Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, check out Reforge Gaming if you want to discuss these things live, and hit subscribe and the bell button, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'll see the rest of you right now. We're going to be combing over this footage and the announcements about the Unreal 5 big, huge debut, the Keynote from Unreal Engine on their channel. Curious what you guys think. Is this going to potentially be great, but also then a setback for consoles? Because we just got to the point where consoles are starting to focus on frames per second, starting to say, hey, FPS matters, but then almost immediately saying, oh my goodness, look at Unreal 5, look at all the cool things we can do. Is it going to cause that bottleneck and that performance frustration with games that land on these systems? I'm curious what you guys think. Be sure to chime in the chat. If you just got here or you enjoy watching these streams every day, make sure and go through the morning ritual of switching over to live chat, because top chat's kind of weird and filtered. So make sure you're on live chat. Say good morning in the chat, and then smash the like button. Give us our first 100 likes. We've been having slower starts now that we've moved away from covering Elden Ring every day. I think we had a pretty large From Software fan base cushion, but we definitely want to make sure and cover variety gaming news. And every day, we would like to see 5 new members as well as 5 coffee orders, because we do not run ads that often on this channel. We do need support of both the coffee and memberships to be pretty regular, so be sure to check out the links below in the description or use the commands in chat to become a member or to buy some of the coffee. Don't forget, we also have sponsors. This is actually not anything that I make money off of. This is from a different t-shirt sponsor that periodically sends me stuff. This is from Box Lunch. So if you like my Moon Knight shirt, that link is now a part of the shirt command just for today only, but you can't use my code or anything. It's just, if you think the shirt's dope, you can order it from Box Lunch. We appreciate them sending that to us. Instructions unclear. I pressed dislike, stayed in top chat, and good night. Thank you, Robert. Forger's Crystals. Yeah, I saw your sample commercial in chat, Derek. I don't necessarily know if we can do that. I think Folgers would probably come for us. They'd say, hey, that's a little too close to our slogan. It'll be great for certain games, says Angry Pete, but the amount of efforts to create the textures and the models will add development costs and time. Now, I don't know if that's true. I really don't know if that's true. We should probably pull the footage up so that way people can see it. That looks terrible, but that they're just loading through here. This is probably a well-timed section in light of what you just said. So from what I gather, they're trying to make certain elements far more intuitive, because they know that, you know, what you're saying is potentially true. And then this is that Lyra thing that they were talking about, you know, wanting to give people a testing environment, very, very similar again to Unreal Tournament. Yo, it's good, Ani. Good to see you in the chat. See all the studios doing Unreal 5 games already? Yes. That's the question. The question is it going to affect game performance? Primarily, my question is, will it affect performance on the consoles? Will the PlayStation 5, will the PS5 and the Xbox Series X struggle to hit those nice 60 frames per second that we were all really excited about? I was thrilled to see games and companies starting to market centering around that as a talking point, because I think that's incredibly important. Development costs are going to come back down again because the tools are getting better. Ray traced rendering doesn't need to be reinvented by every dev team. Well, and these tools, Unreal 5 is supposed to be extremely intuitive and really cut down on development time, so I don't necessarily think that this is going to be increasing dev time. It should be cutting it down, actually. It's actually easier to create on UE5, says Spike Deagle. My man Big Mad Mo coming in with 8 months of membership. It's great to be talking about the great technology that Xbox will be using on the best system ever created. Oh, and maybe the PlayStation 5. Yeah, obviously, if you're an Xbox fan, you're very excited about Unreal 5 engine news because of Hellblade 2. That's going to be, pretty good for you guys. Showing off just how to change colors, here in this environment. You can really tell that even in an environment like this, it would be pretty much PvP. You can see a lot of the sampling going on with you can see the light cascading down through the top, the shadows, the reflections, as well as the different textures on the surfaces and just the simplicity of wanting to change color. Now here they're adding light source and saying, okay, I believe this is a light source. Oh, it's a glowing sphere. Okay, so they're showing what that would do to the environment around it if you changed time of day. Yo, what's good, Feed? Good to see you in the chat. PSVR 2 already has games in development. Big nice. I expect we will be fine since VR means you need to render it 2 times, and they don't want anything below 60 hertz when it comes to VR. That's not the question in my mind. Can the PS5 and the Xbox Series X do all these pretty things and maintain 60 frames per second? If they start adding all these great lighting effects and all these really cool, awesome, snazzy, super dope things, is that going to cause problems for the frames per second? Because if I don't get 60 frames per second, I don't care how pretty your game is, I don't want to play your game. I don't know. Let's actually pose the question here. All right. Unreal 5. If it drives 60 FPS down to 30 hang on, that's too wordy. Unreal 5, does 60 FPS need to be maintained on consoles? On PS5 and Xbox Series X. Unreal 5, does 60 FPS need to be maintained? Yes or no? Are you okay with them not maintaining 60 FPS if the game gets really pretty, right? Let's see some new Unreal Tournament. I want to run around with a flat cannon again, right? Yo, MJ coming back in with the membership. Thank you so much, MJ. I'm pretty sure that's a double dip. I think Mo's a double dip as well. Guys, thanks for keeping your memberships alive over here. We'd love to see 5 new members a day, as well as 5 coffee orders if you've never been here before. Click the subscribe button, smash the like button. Let us know in the chat what you think of today and the subject, and take the poll at the top. I always have concern when I see this new kind of graphical push. I'm like, Unreal 5 looks amazing, okay? Unreal 5 looks incredible, but if I start not getting 60 FPS consistent games on my PS5 and my Series X, I'm not going to be too happy about that. My question is, will gameplay be better? I don't care about graphics. I think the two are linked. Not completely linked, but I definitely think gameplay and graphical fidelity are linked unatoned, because I do, like when I play on my PS5, I do expect the graphics to continue to look pretty good, pretty top shelf. I don't expect to play like the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, whatever that is or whatever it looks like, or like when I played Horizon Forbidden West. I don't expect those games to just be like mediocre. I do expect them to increase graphical fidelity, not at the cost of performance though. The 4K resolution target needs to be closeted. Why that is still a target over frame rate, I will never understand. See, I think I agree with you, Jake. I think I agree with you. It's like, wait a minute. Can we talk about this? Can we talk about why that is such a big target? Why are you going for, immediately jumping into the deep end of the pool? Like, we need 4K, we need 4K. If it's going to create that drop in performance, if we're not going to be getting 60 FPS consistent, a flat 60. I don't mean hitting 60 FPS. I mean, you need to be able to maintain 60 FPS with the Unreal 5 engine, no matter what you do, or I don't want to play your game. Great discussion about Star Wars yesterday. Didn't get to catch it. Yeah, I don't know what's been happening with our starting numbers. I really don't. I don't know if maybe we just covered Elden Ring so exclusively since launch, if we just hurt ourselves. But, I couldn't believe Star Wars did not pull stronger turnout yesterday. It blew my freaking mind. I was like, are we starting over? Did we literally spend a month in Elden Ring and now we're kind of starting over at new baselines? It was really confusing. Arch Enigma with 8 months. Someone say double dip. Welcome back in, Arch Enigma. Thank you. Some of us care about 4K. Well, but caring about 4K at the loss of 60 FPS, though. 4K at 30 looks nice, but yeah, not going to play it unless it's 60. See, I disagree. I don't think 4K at 30 looks good. I think it looks bad. It really looks bad. Sure, it looks great when you do slow pans for your tech demo. Sure, it looks great when you can take screenshots, but when I'm moving around, no. 30 FPS looks terrible. I don't care how far away I sit from my television. I don't care how big my television is. I don't care about any of that. I really, really don't. It genuinely feels and looks like a dadgum slideshow. And here's the weird thing about 4K 30. Here's the really strange thing, right? I don't understand why people think it's the right sacrifice, and here's what I mean. This is what I don't understand about it. Silent Warrior with 8 months of membership, keeping the train alive, double dip Team Dark Rose, thank you. I don't understand why people are saying, yeah, 4K 30 is totally fine, all right? And here's why. The higher graphical fidelity honestly compounds the lower frame rate. It makes it worse because you have more going on, or you're attempting to do more on the screen, and it looks bad. So you're basically like, I really want it to be super pretty and super amazing and great resolution and amazing lighting, and then you turn your head and it looks like garbage. It looks like a freaking slideshow, right? 4K 30 was fine, not anymore. I just feel like it's like you're working really hard to get something and then immediately trading the value back. You're like, yeah, man, we worked really hard to get this 4K. And it's like, oh, that's awesome. But the minute you turn your head or move, you lose the very thing that you fought for. It doesn't achieve graphical fidelity. It doesn't look good. It looks jittery and bad. Do you know what I'm saying? It feels like you're making a giant sacrifice almost immediately after achieving something that you fought so hard for. That's why I don't understand the 4K 30 thing. I just upgraded my Series S to an X and can see the difference in D2 with 4K enabled. That being said, I noticed the jump from 30 much more. 4K is cool, but frames made a huge difference. Once you hit 55 to 60, I don't care after that. I want resolution. Yeah, I'm totally fine if the baseline is 60 FPS, but then they start pushing other things without compromising the 60 FPS, right? Now they're showing Fortnite because Fortnite made the change to Unreal 5 last year, which obviously you would expect Epic to be on the forefront of their own technological advancements. Guys, could we get 9 more likes on the video? We're gonna have to start really scrapping and pushing. We are not getting the turnout that we're used to. I'm not sure what's happening. Could be a YouTube thing. We were high on the hog for a couple of weeks there, and I don't know why the slats are getting kicked out from underneath of us. But likes on the video, chatting, and voting in the poll will certainly help move things where we want them to go. It's all determined by the monitor or the TV. Yes and no. Yo, what's good, Wolvie? 4 months. Hope y'all having a flawless week so far. Thank you, Wolvie. Thanks for sticking with me. I have one of the best TVs in the market, and 30 FPS looks like garbage, right? It just looks like garbage. It's like, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter how pretty it is. As soon as I start moving, the size and the fidelity of the TV makes the 30 FPS worse. It makes it worse. It's like, I can literally see everything jittering. I mean, it's way more noticeable. It's so choppy. Do you have an LG OLED? What TV do I have? I don't even know. It's like one of the. Did I not undeafen in Discord? I'm deafened in Discord. It's one of the. We're not even. I don't know, man. We're not even getting the Discord. I'm not sure what's going on. What was I saying? Lono has a space shuttle. Yeah, I don't know which one it is. It's like one of the best TVs you can buy in the market. It's not some little 27-incher from Target. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't buy it, so I'm not trying to like be arrogant here. Chat went nuts and bought like one of the best televisions in the market for Father's Day. That was last year, right? Going to 60, ruined 30 for me. I don't regularly play at 60 or higher. Can't understand the issue. LGCX here, and yes, you see the crap. That's what I'm saying. Like, the bigger the TV, the better the TV. It doesn't hide any of that stuff. Now, if you get the variable refresh rate going and your TV is variable refresh rate, capable, that will certainly hide some of it and make some of it look a little bit smoother. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? I see way more on a big nice TV than I did before. I won't touch Elden Ring until the PS5 version runs better, says Eugene. I would say Unreal 5 would truly benefit PC over console. Hopefully they make it viable for console. Well, that's what the poll question is asking. Unreal 5, does 60 FPS need to be maintained on PS5 and the Xbox Series X, right? What is the point of this section? Oh, is she taking... What is she doing? So she took pictures of this chair. No way! It's not that simple, is it? You just put the chair in the game, just went into her living room and said, yeah, I really like that chair. That's all you got to do? Did Lono win Elden Ring? No, we're just trying to take a break from it, and we're clearly learning that we should, because we learned that we should take a break from it. I don't want to become an Elden Ring channel, and it looks like we were on a path to becoming an Elden Ring channel. So yeah, we cover variety gaming news here. Our second stream of the day today is going to be Trek to Yomi. Trek to Yomi has got a bunch of new gameplay for us to look at and chop up, and I want to analyze it with you guys. 30 frames per second was great for years, but we new standards, but we have new gen standards is what I think what you're trying to say. It's that simple. You can download the app and scan yourself. That's crazy. The Matrix demo, was it 30 or 60? From the people that I spoke to that checked it out, it did not maintain 60. No. It struggled to maintain 60 on the PS5. And so that likely is going to be the case going forward for any game that wants to go that crazy, and that's my biggest concern, right? My biggest concern is I see all this hullabaloo about like, oh, Unreal 5 this, Unreal 5 that, and I'm like, that's all great and well and good, but if people start going crazy and saying, oh man, we got to add this lighting effect and this texture rendering and this and that and blah blah, and then I get a 30 FPS game, I'm gonna be really freaking grumpy. Now the good thing that we're noticing is a lot of these companies are releasing like a 4K 30 and then like a performance mode, like, well, if you want 60, we're just gonna turn off certain things to get that for you. And if that continues, then I kind of don't care. As long as I can go in and check a box and say, hey, I would like this game to consistently hit 60 frames per second. Like, I need to be able to do that. I did not buy a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X to play a really pretty slideshow. Like, I didn't spend the money and invest in new tech and new gen and new consoles to play a 30 FPS game. Waited 8 years for you to become an Elden Ring streamer. Guess I'll wait another 8. It just is not a good idea. You're clearly seeing right now why you can't dig into one game for too long. Like, we're paying the price right now. We're paying the price. We gotta be diverse in our coverage. We were diverse December and January, and it went just fine. So it'll just take us a minute to kind of maybe get some of that momentum back. No one is going to do what the Matrix demo was showing off. They were literally rendering thousands of NPCs. Right, but the hope would be that what you're saying is true, Eugene. Well, no one's going to do that. Are you sure? Can you get a promise from the gaming development community that they're not going to do that, right? Games need to be able to hit 144, says Harry. Anything above that is niche and only important in hyper-competitive games, but 60 to 144 is still 0.01 seconds decrease in between frame times. It's a huge difference. I don't think 144 matters in 90% of the games that come out. I don't think 144 matters. It doesn't. 60 matters in 90% of the games that come out, whether it's God of War Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Hellblade, these little side scrollers, nice little 3D open world action adventure games, Breath of the Wild 2, things like this. Those games don't need to go beyond 60. You get into the competitive realm, you get into games like Valorant, and you get into games with flick aiming and stuff like that. Sure, 144 is a standard that they should be able to achieve because it's a competitive environment and they should be turning off all those extra features anyway. Turn off all that extra crap. Right? Turn off all the extra lighting to achieve 144. But 90% of the games that hit the market don't need to hit 144. You know what I mean? If I'm running around as a Viking in some open world or flying through some crazy sci-fi fantasy world like in Forspoken, I don't need 144. Like that's not a standard that they should be fighting for. My main concern is that if you fight for 144, you're going to sacrifice a ton of other things, because the difference between hitting 144 consistently and 60 is massive. It's absolutely massive. Like, think about how hard it is for some of these high-fidelity games to even hit 60 consistently, and you want them to hit more than double that. I just don't think it's reasonable. In games where they strip everything down like Valorant, yes, I would agree with you. 144 becomes very, very important because you're talking about a different environment, you're talking about the competitive realm, you're talking about milliseconds mattering, and I actually would agree with that. East Coast Overlord with a $5 tip. From a PC player, I'm 144 1440. It's better than 4K 60. Give me stable 144 and your game doesn't look like sludge. 60 is still usable. I actually think 4K 60 is rare, to be honest. Most people are playing 1440 60. Like, most people that want 60 are playing a 1440 game. They're not playing a 4K game. I think Code Miko on purple made her new avatar in Unreal Engine 5 looks insane compared to the last one. Yeah, I mean, the ability to... The stuff that they're showing, like the... I mean, here's everybody that's going to be switching over to it. They got all the devs on screen there. The Coalition released a really, really crazy trailer that we'll be checking out in Unreal 5, because they announced a while ago that the next Gears game would be in Unreal 5. Miko's using EU5. 1080 144 is enough, TBH. I don't know about that. 1080, I don't know. 1080 is kind of down there. What do we got here? So you're saying the Matrix thing is more than just NPCs. All right, hang on a second. The Matrix Awaken is an unmissable next-gen showcase. So you're saying, okay, so in the Matrix thing that used the Unreal 5 engine, there was 512 kilometers of sidewalk, 1,248 intersections in the city. There are 45,000 parked cars, of which 38,000 are drivable. There are 17,000 simulated traffic vehicles on the road that are destructible, 7,000 buildings, almost 28,000 lampposts, 12,000 sewer holes, 10 million unique and duplicated assets were created to make the city. The entire world is lit only by the sun, sky, and emissive materials on meshes. Yeah, this is the Coalition thing that their cinematic tech test. Look at the lighting on his face. That is freaking nuts. So basically what you're saying, Eugene, is it's incredibly unlikely that that's going to be like a common threshold that people shoot for in gaming, which is why that game struggled to hit 60 FPS, right? UE5 does have serious performance gains. Large environments with detail are feasible even on older consoles, says Nathival. I mean, that would be the hope, right? That would be the hope that, and this is the entirety of the Coalition trailer that they put together. That would be the hope that this jump doesn't just give us better graphical fidelity, but it gives us better performance. Harry says, there's also features in UE5. It's going to dramatically improve performance on large open world games, so 144 will be easier to hit. Right. Harry, you say that, but you and I both know, anybody who's played games in the last, 10 years knows that these developers can't help themselves. If they don't have a prior commitment to 60 FPS, then it might not happen. You know what I'm saying? If their commitment is to innovation and pushing the bar higher and running the ball further down the field or whatever dumb corporate speak they want to use, then what you're saying is correct, but what if they look at it a completely different way than you? Hey, look, we get dramatic open world improvement, performance improvement. Man, I wonder what we could do. We could really push things farther, and guess what? Your 144 drops to a 90, and then it drops to a 60, and they're like, well, maybe we could you know what I'm saying? Like, if they start chiseling away at that, your 144 becomes a fantasy. It's just not happening. Because they're again, it's not a guarantee that developers are going to have our mindset about this, that, you know, that gamers are like, man, give me that 60, give me that 144. East Coast Overlord with a $10 tip. Lono, I honestly think that 144 in every game is more important than 1440. Even when you get a monitor with an adaptive refresh rate, the smoothness is unreal. Honestly, prefer stable 144 above all. Your preference is totally fine. As an industry standard, it's not going to happen. You're about 10 to 20 years too early if you think 144 in every game is going to happen. If you think 144 is happening in any game, you're about 10 to 20 years too early. If we get high-fidelity, crazy open-world games like the next Fable or Elder Scrolls or any of this, and they all hit 60 at high-fidelity graphics and high resolution, I will be thrilled. You're asking for something that I don't see happening in this generation of consoles especially. I just don't think so. I think 1440-60 will be the most common breakdown that you'll find over the course of this generation of consoles. I think 1440-60 will be the most common result that you're going to see. I don't care about frames if you're pushing 1080. Yeah, I don't know if 1080-60 will be common. I think 1440-60 is what you're going to probably most commonly see. If you're just tuning in and you want to see the Unreal 5 breakdown, I got it running behind me. We're debating frames per second. So if you've never been here before, hit subscribe so you can talk in my chat. Subscribing is free. The poll at the top of the chat's a great way to gauge what the community thinks. Unreal 5. Does 60 FPS need to be maintained on the PS5 and the Series X? 90% of you are saying yes. I'm curious about the 10% that are saying no. MFers talking about 1080 are stuck in 2016. 144 is even tough for a lot of PCs. You got to think about what 144 frames means. Yo, what's good, Hilly? 144 as a frame rate is a handful of problems. Number one, the monitors and the televisions that are in circulation, okay? Most televisions in circulation aren't hitting 144, all right? So you have a technological barrier. Then the second thing you have is a secondary technological barrier, and the secondary technological barrier is the consoles themselves are going to struggle to do that consistently, especially if you're pushing graphical fidelity up. The more you turn graphical fidelity up, the lower the frames per second. That's just the basic spectrum that you operate on. Modern tech can easily hit 144. The problem is keeping the tech cool. Right. Think about, again, what we're talking about. We're talking about consoles. We're talking about a PS5 and an Xbox Series X. Sounds like a console player issue? Yeah. And are you making a point? That's a huge portion of the market. That developers are developing games for consoles. Would you think you think Witcher's not going to be a big console push? You don't, what, Hellblade? Come on, Butters. Of course it's a console player's problem. And guess what? That means it's a developer problem. That means you can't just go nuts and be like, our game is 4K 144, bleh, bleh. And then everybody's like, yeah, that's great. My television is going to explode. My PlayStation 5 just melted, right? 60 minimum is fine, says Suede. Some games just don't need more and can benefit from eye candy. Depending on the dev, some are always going to chase the graphic performance over FPS. Let me see. I thought Harry said something. Harry said, but most monitors are 1080 still. Higher is becoming more common, but most use are still 1080. Right, if most monitors are still stuck on 1080, true. I'm just thinking refresh rates. Like, why push 144 if almost, no televisions out there are hitting 144? I think it's possible for 1440, 120 to be common. Fortnite and Call of Duty both achieve it on my Xbox Series X. Okay, I didn't realize that. So you can hit 120 in Fortnite on the Series X and Call of Duty. They can both hit 120. I know that they pushed for Fortnite to be flat 60 with the last gen, but I didn't realize that that was the case with with Fortnite on Series X and with Call of Duty. I didn't realize they were hitting 120. Can you even select 1440 on a PS5? It depends. PlayStation doesn't do 1440. I thought we played a game recently that when put on performance, it was 1440. D2's 120 in PvP? What do you mean Halo is 120? I'm asking. I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm genuinely asking. I've not been paying attention to the 120. Fortnite's extremely optimized for higher resolutions and FPS. PS5 can do 4K. PS5 doesn't support 1440. Oh, it doesn't support 1440? What was the game we played recently where we could set it to a certain thing or resolution? Was it Forbidden West? What's Forbidden West performance running at then? It's not just console, says Red Rocket. PCs need custom loop cooling to hit 144 at top graphical output. Sometimes that's not enough at higher resolution, so cooling CPU, GPU, RAM is definitely not a console-only issue. Derek says, I think working toward things that are obviously never going to be common, 144 or ultra-wide is kind of silly. Just shoot for the best numbers that most TVs and monitors can do. That's why I said somebody is like 10 to 20 years too early, right? Like, the most common thing you're going to see over the next couple of years is 1440-60. I'm telling you, that's going to be the most common you're going to see. It doesn't output at 1440. The PS5 uses dynamic scale between 1800 and 1400. That's different from a game being able to run at 1440. Oh, okay. PlayStation doesn't have a 1440 setting. Okay. Here they're showing the Lyra game that they built. It's kind of like inspired by Unreal Tournament and Portal just to show off the tech in the game. Internal resolution 1440 upscaled to 4K. So they're not. So you can't run native 1440 on a PS5. I didn't know that. 60 FPS has to be the new standard, says Murphdog. I think we need to shift to this ASAP. Also, you don't need a custom water loop for 1440 at 144. No, Murph. You're ripping half of his statement out of context, okay? Red Rocket said, PCs need custom loop cooling to hit 144 at top graphical output. I actually think that's pretty accurate. If you're going to run a game at its top graphical settings at Ultra or whatever, and you want to maintain 144, you need to have a pretty strong system that is also well cooled. You will not be running ultra settings and 144 on a system that's not adequately cooled. You're gonna light the dadgum thing on fire. Hear what I'm saying? Consistent 144. I'm not talking about hitting 144. I'm talking about maintaining 144. I still think that's a no. Yeah, hitting 144 is not what we're talking about. If you want to run ultra graphical settings and maintain 144, you got to have a beastly machine that runs really great cooling. I mean, that you can't just buy some off-the-shelf computer with fans in it if you're going to be doing... Maybe you can get really good air coolant, okay? I'm not saying that it has to be liquid, okay? Maybe he went a little too far. But generally, what the spirit of what he was saying was, it's not unique to consoles. If you want to run a game at max graphical fidelity and 144 frames, you need to have a very well-built machine. My PC hits 144 in the menu of any game. Yeah, he wasn't saying like you need water coolant if you ever want to hit 144. I think he was saying that if you're trying to hit 144 consistently, it's not purely a console challenge, it's also a challenge for PCs. There's a small spectrum of the PC community that's going to be able to run high fidelity ultra settings and maintain 144. Like, I don't even know if my rig could do that. I got a 2080 Ti, and if I boot up some game and try and run it consistent 144 at ultra, it's not going to maintain 144. It isn't. I set my video output to 1080p on my Series X and always play on performance mode to get the lowest input latency and the best response time. The PS5 upscale and most TVs upscale. It really is only an issue for monitors. But you can't upscale refresh rates, Eugene. That's not a thing. If you're sending a TV 144 refresh and its max is 60, you're going to get screen tearing. This guy looks hilariously uncomfortable on camera. I don't think he looks uncomfortable. I just think some people, like, it's kind of awkward to do what they're doing. Like, here, stand in this big open space and just talk to a camera. And they're like, okay. Your 2080 Ti can maintain 144 with image upscaling. Well, I said at Ultra, though. If I put a game on Ultra, I'm not maintaining 144. Okay, I can agree with that, says Murph. You have to have a really good cooling for any sort of high graphics and high frame rate. That was the point I think he was making, Murph. Like, I don't think he was trying to establish, like, you always need water cooling. He was saying, this is not unique to consoles. This is a general problem in gaming, that if when you take it to that level of performance and graphical fidelity, you're going to need to have a very well-cooled system. So even a lot of people's PCs would struggle. Harry says, as long as games are optimized, the PC community innovation is pushing refresh rate with new monitors being 360 now, compared to console community pushing higher and higher resolution. Right. I do not think we're getting off on like lots of different rabbit holes. Much of what I've been saying and pushing back on is the notion or the request that 144 FPS or 4K resolution needs to be the target. I don't think so. I think you need to have a more realistic view of where we are as far as what's the common TV and monitor in a person's home, what's the common strength of PCs, how good looking is Keanu Reeves, what's the strongest version of the consoles that are available right now, PS5 and the Xbox Series X, all right? And when you look at that and you ask the question, okay, what's our target? I don't think 144 is a target, and I don't think 4K should be a target. I think 1440/60 should be the most common target that we should be aiming for. That's what I think. And I'm basing that purely off of consistency and marketability, right? If you promote a game that looks amazing and is going to consistently run very stable, very good, very well optimized 1440/60, and the average PC, TV, monitor, Xbox Series X, PS5 owner can play the game and get consistent performance, that's a humongous market. You start marketing to like, oh, this thing hits 4K 144, melt your face, and a percentage of the PC market can enjoy that. And none of the consoles are doing that. You know what I'm saying? None of the consoles are doing that. Then what's the point? What is even the point of building that? That doesn't even make any sense. How much development time are you going to waste doing that? 4K is silly for consoles. Isn't 4K 60 totally doable now? No. 4K 60 is not doable. Absolutely not. In open world games? No. Consoles can do 4K 60 easy if optimized and features of the consoles used. Okay, first and foremost, upscaling to 4K doesn't count. You're talking 4K native 60 frames per second? No, that's not quote unquote easy on the consoles. No. Talk to me in 3 years when that's a rarity. That's a frickin' rarity. Why are no games doing that then? Why are almost no games doing 4K 60? What's the problem? Is it so it's all on the devs? We're gonna be hardware apologists and act like the PS5 and the Series X are ridiculously strong and can do whatever you throw at them. It's all on the devs. They're not optimizing the games to run 4K 60. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's true. The consoles are more powerful than is being used. Nothing's doing native 60. I don't know why that's even a discussion. But upscaling is a thing. Yeah, if you upscale to 4K 60, then you're cheating. That's not 4K 60. Native 4K 60 is not a thing on Series X or PS5. Won't happen. Unless it's a teeny tiny game. Maybe a side scroller. Look at the game control. In my opinion, that game is one of the greatest looking games and one of the best games I've ever played. However, it runs like crap if you don't have a monster rig to run it. I don't remember it needing a monster rig, but yeah. Can we get 200 likes on the video? Man, we need another 30 likes. What the frick? We have just completely fallen out of the good graces of something. That's like saying DLSS is cheating. No. Upscaling is cheating. If you're going to brag about 4K 60 and it's not native, then you can't say, oh yeah, everything could do 4K 60 if they would just optimize it. And then you're going to upscale? It's not running 4K then. It's like those people that run those frame doublers on YouTube to be like, this is what this game would look like with 60 frames per second. You're cheating. That's not really native 60 frames per second. You're using a frame doubler. Demon Souls Remake runs at 4K 30, and it's an early game for the PS5, which is supposed to be optimized for it. GT7 runs native 4K 60. Does it really? Does Gran Turismo 7 run native 4K 60? Upscaling is the summoning of the graphics world. DLSS isn't native. It's good, but it doesn't count. If a game is upscaling and nobody can tell, does it make a sound? Yo, what's good, Hex? How are you? DLSS doesn't count. Ignore your lying eyes. To stop the discussion, compare God of War. For PlayStation to hit 4K 60, it took all type of concessions. Right, that's what I'm saying. Like a 4K checkerboard upscale and then 60. Again, you're not running a native 4K 60. The statement that was made, Halo runs at 4K 60. So right now, Halo Infinite on my Series X runs at 4K 60. And you think that that game's graphical fidelity is an example of what we've been talking about this morning. A big open world with like high fidelity, amazing graphics. You think Halo Infinite is that's your example you're going to go with, Mo? You think that? Halo is dynamic 4K 60, by the way. It dips to 1800. Yeah, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Every time you pull back the veil on these claims, the truth is way less, like, exciting. Yeah, it runs at 4K 60. No, it runs at dynamic 4K 60 and dips into the 1800s. So the resolution's fluctuating. So, and the graphics in Halo are fine, but I certainly wouldn't call them revolutionary. There's nothing about Halo that, like, Halo Infinite does not look like this mind-blowing next-gen game. It doesn't look like Forspoken. It doesn't look like Forbidden West. It doesn't look like God of War Ragnarok. Here we go. Halo Infinite runs a dynamic 4K resolution with a common dip to 1800 and 30 frames per second cap in quality mode. It runs at... I'm going to read this again really, really slowly. Halo Infinite runs at a dynamic 4K resolution with a common dip to 1800 and a 30 FPS cap in quality mode. So no, it isn't running 4K 60, it's running 4K 30, and it doesn't even maintain 4K. All right? It runs at dynamic 1440 with a common dip to 1260, and the FPS capped at 60. It can't even maintain 1440 60. Come on, Mo. This is exactly why I'm saying what I'm saying. It can't. Halo Infinite can't even maintain 1440 60 for crying out loud. What do you mean on what? The best Xbox Series X best optimized games at 4K 60. There's decent looking games in this list that run at 4K 60. So those games run at true native 4K 60 because I was just told that Halo Infinite did that and it doesn't. Is it dynamic? Is it upscaled? is it maintaining 60, or does it dip into the 30s and 40s? Like, I don't care about your list. What's Digital Foundry say? I'm telling you right now, it's a pipe dream. If you think Halo Infinite, oh my gosh, Halo Infinite is all we need. If you think the Series X and the PS5 are going to trot out some 4K 60 standard over the next couple of years, I don't know what systems you're playing on, but I don't have your unicorn version of the console. Mine doesn't do that. Mine won't do that. It's not that strong. This music isn't appropriate for the situation. What's happening? What are we on? We're on Stream Tunes. Deep learning super sampling is a new image rendering technology developed by NVIDIA, which uses deep learning to produce an image that looks like a higher resolution version of an original lower resolution image. DLSS is cheating. Sure. Like, if I came out and told you, hey man, buy this 4K television. Yeah man, 4K television. Did I mention that it's 4K? And you're like, that's awesome. And you buy it and you get it home and you find out that it's not 4K. It upscales to 4K. You'd be okay with that? You wouldn't feel like I sold you a bill of goods? You wouldn't feel like I misled you? You would feel that that's fair. You would feel that that's fair? And that was a fair representation of the product? No one cares that it's upscaled? I do, because you're telling me something that's basically not true. Yeah, man, 4K. Asterisk, upscaled checkerboard. Oh, so it's not actually 4K. It's not actually 4K. It's running at a lower resolution and you're making it look prettier with post-processing. Okay, cool. So you're basically telling me, you're selling me a fiction. It's not 4K. At the end of the life cycle of this current gen consoles, we will see them pushed to the max. 144060, I'm telling you, it will be the standard. I'm telling you right now, that will be the standard. Village, good times, beat it 3 times in 1 week. I did not like Resident Evil Village that much at all. I was very disappointed. Beautiful and had some good parts, but that Call of Duty ending was irritating and bad. Fortnite, the only Unreal Engine 5 game right now, runs 124K on the iPad. Other engines are not the same. Yeah, and if you want every game to look like Fortnite, sure. You're not going to get a game like God of War or Witcher 4 to run 4K 120. You're not going to. I think you could have a cel-shaded or anime-style graphics, music, rhythm timing game that hits crazy numbers, but nothing that looks real. The entire thing that Unreal 5 is selling us on, what did I read this morning? It's the photorealism. It's the ability to make the game look realistic. It's the ability to make the game look like, yeah, that's a real person standing right there, like the Keanu Reeves picture I threw on the thumbnail. If you're new and just tuning in, do me a favor, take the poll at the top of the chat. Make sure and hit subscribe so you can talk in chat. Maybe we can turn the rudder on today. We thought people would really be diving into this today. I think it's huge for the industry. DLSS is not just processing, and even if it is, you can't see the difference. Well, what's the difference between 4K native and DLSS 4K? Okay, I think you guys are misunderstanding. I am not being some persnickety graphics snob who's like, I can see the difference. I've not once said that. So you're not really responding to what I'm saying when you're like, who can tell the difference? Who cares? Consumers don't care. Okay? We're having a debate about whether or not the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X can hit 4K 60. And you're like, well, it can, but ... The resolution's dynamic, or the resolution's upscaled, or the resolution dips, or the frame rates dip, then shut the frick up about 4K 60 if it's not actually doing it. What good does it do to be like, yeah, man, 4K 60, asterisk, it dips into like, 1200 or 1800. Okay. It's capped at 30. Oh, What? I thought you said 4K 60 a second ago. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm telling you. The standard, if you look at the graphical power of the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, the standard will be that 1440/60 is the most common that you're going to see. I don't think Lono understands what DLSS is. I understand what the deep learning is. It learns and it shows you things that are actually in the game at a lower resolution, and it makes them look prettier. It doesn't upscale, and it cheats so that it's not actually having to put a high resolution or high version of that texture in the game. It's basically learning and showing you up samples of those things so they look prettier. It actually takes like lower resolution items and makes them look better. It also learns how you're like, it actually, I think, is supposed to make the game run smoother the more you play it or something. Like, it actually learns how to run smoother on the current system that you're on or whatever. Listen, I'm not a developer, so I don't have an in-depth knowledge, but like, I can armchair it and read the talking points as well as anybody else can. I'm not talking about DLSS. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people in chat saying that they want to see 4K 60 or 144 frames per second. And my pushback from the beginning has been the Xbox Series X and the PS5 aren't going to be able to consistently do that. They're not. And hear what I'm saying. They're not going to be able to consistently do that. And the standard, the more common theme will be 1440/60, right? RE8 runs native 4K 60, runs at 4K, 45 FPS with ray tracing. Okay, so a specific game that, man, I have a sneaking suspicion that I'll look and pull the veil back on this, Eugene, and it doesn't hit those numbers consistently. Like, if you can find one or two games that target it, one or two games that achieve it slightly with an asterisk, with dips and dynamic adjustments or upscaling, then you're proving my point. Like, you're proving my point. You find one game that, like, barely achieves it. Like, yeah, it does. Well, kind of. As soon as you turn ray tracing on, it's 45 frames per second. Okay. Yeah, these systems are sure going to be able to handle a bunch of 4K 60 games or 144. Like Harry was saying, I want to see consistent 144. What was my pushback? No, I don't think so, man. Not on this console generation. No, I don't think so. And I don't think 4K 60 is going to be consistent either. You find a little offshoot game that kind of, sort of does it. You're proving my point. My point has been, you will see a more consistent representation. The norm, the most common thing you're going to find is 1440/60. You're not going to see a bunch of 4K 60 games. At this point, the market doesn't care if it's upscaled or DLSS or whatever. Sure. But again, I don't even think you're going to see that, Eugene. I don't even think you're going to see a lot of games do this 4K 60 dynamic thing. I don't. Because why go to all that trouble if it doesn't even consistently hit what you're aiming at? 18 months in, you know how this generation is going to play out? Yeah, look at the tech. There's stronger tech right now on PCs. Are there PC games that are consistently doing this? Aren't PCs struggling to do 4K 60 consistently, and you think the PS5 and the Series X are going to be just fine? It's going to be 4K DLSS. Everyone has a 4K TV today. Yeah, maybe, but it might be 4K 30 or 4K 45 or whatever. What do you mean by holding 4K 60 consistently? A game will obviously drop frames here and there. Oh, I'm not talking about dropping frames. I'm talking about, 4K 60 if you're standing still and then you move and it's like basically like it's like a 4K 40 to 50 experience. That ain't 4K 60. Standing still and staring at a wall is not 4K 60. 4K 60 is when I run across an open field and I maintain, I would say, 55 to 60. If you consistently dip below that, then it ain't. Well, what's the point? What's the point if it's jittering and dropping into the 40s? Fortnite doesn't look like games like God of War, but 4K 120 is crazy. Does that not indicate to you that Unreal 5 has potential to strive for more than just 1440 60, which is already achieved? I'm not debating that point, Harry. I'm not. I am saying that the most common thing you will find will be 1440 60, and there's like 8 reasons for that. Number one, I genuinely think it's going to be a significant development struggle to consistently hit 4K 60. I think it's going to be a huge struggle, which will eat up development time. If they can make a photorealistic game that looks beautiful and has great lighting, and it's a lot easier for them to achieve 1440 60, that's what they'll do. They'll take the path of least resistance. Striving for 4K 60 is going to feel like a pipe dream for a lot of these games. It's going to be like, we can't do that. Even in Unreal 5, it's a struggle. As soon as you make the environment big enough, as soon as you add enough moving parts, as soon as you throw in a couple NPCs, enemies, or dynamic environments that respond to weather or wind or whatever the frick, you're not going to be able to maintain that. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the issue that we're missing here is it's like, I don't think developers are going to do that. That's my point. My point is entirely based on the market and the trends and the power of the systems. And if you gotta strain at a gnat and spend all this development time to hit 4K 60, and you gotta slap an asterisk on there, and you're like, well, I mean, it's 4K 60, but you know, it dips into the 40s, or well, the resolution's dynamic, like what we read about Halo Infinite. You're gonna spend all that time? Lono has never optimized graphics in a game, but has a magical crystal ball about what developers will do. Yeah, and you're being a gatekeeping douchebag, and apparently you know what developers will do. At least I'm being polite. 144 is not going to be a standard for every long term, and literally everyone is slow to upgrade any form of expensive electronics such as monitors, TVs, consoles, so you can bet on that. Right. I'm talking about a trend in the market, and you're acting like I'm saying what every single developer will do. I'm saying this is what the trend in the market will be. Have you watched me over the course of 8 years? Am I bad at predicting what the market will do? Am I bad at making predictions? Or have I literally created a career in doing just that? You look at the actual processing power of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and you think my prediction is like out of left field, that the more common thing you're going to find, hear that sentence and stop being a 4K 60 axe grinder. Listen to the sentence and how I've structured it. The more common thing that you will find, the gall of this man, the more common thing you will find is 1440 60. I think it will be less common for games to push for 4K 60. There's reasons with respect to the processing power of the computers, the optimization time they'll have to take, the size of the game, the type of game they want to build, if it's online, if there's NPCs, if there's dynamic weather, if they're trying to tap into new textures and lighting technologies. It's going to make it extremely hard for them to do that. It's not, that's the point that I'm making. In this generation of console, that's what you're going to more commonly find. You will not be, in like a couple of years, every game's 4K 60. See, Lono, we told you. What are you talking about? Even in the PC realm, 4K 60 is really struggling to be a thing, and you think these weaker consoles are going to be just fine doing it? DLSS 4K will be the norm. Everyone will do it. Everyone will complain it's fake because human eyes cannot detect it. I mean, if 4K DLSS becomes more common, I'm not disputing that. I was talking about 4K 60. 4K 60, even with DLSS, is probably not going to be super common. It'll probably be 4K 30. They're going to keep pushing 4K 30 because console gamers are smooth brains. Well, I mean, there's no reason to say that. They're just being rude. What I want to see is a PS5 hooked up to a last-gen CRT monitor, or even better, a PS5 hooked up to an RF switch on an old tube TV. It'd be wild to see what it looks like on that screen. Yeah, I don't even know. That would be so awkward. Anytime it would try to refresh movement would be terrible. That would be screen tearing out the waz, I would imagine. I have a question for you. Are they fully utilizing these consoles full power? Well, that's the real question, isn't it, Mo? The question is, are they, and what happens if they do? Do you think these systems pushed to their full power are going to be able to stay cool? Like, are they built in a way where you can take them all the way to their edge? Like overclocking a computer but not properly cooling it, right? Like, I think that's the bigger question. I think your question has to have a follow-up question. Are they fully utilizing the powers of these consoles? No, probably not. The next question is, what happens if they do? Are they going to get consistent performance? Are they going to get weird tearing and weird anomalies and stuff like that? Like, I don't know. Where's the bottleneck typically on these systems? It's most commonly the CPU, but I don't actually know until somebody attempts to do it. The 4K standard is 8 or 9 years old. No one's pushing for native. That's why we always have to distinguish native. It's the terminology of the standard. It's like when people say HD audio, there's no such thing. If you're just tuning in, we are debating and watching. We're watching the Unreal 5 engine keynote. Make sure and hit subscribe if you want to talk in chat. Take the poll at the top of the chat. Unreal 5, does 60 FPS need to be maintained on PS5 and Xbox Series X? So as we go forward, do you think 60 needs to be maintained? I've got people in chat saying 4K 60 will be like the standard on these consoles going forward. I am saying it will be rare. It's rare right now, and I think it will continue to be rare. I don't think it's going to be an easy thing to do. I think the work involved, I think the inconsistencies, I think the difference especially too, like when somebody was saying 144, I don't think that's happening either. I don't think 144 will be a standard this generation of console. Okay. That's not what it is. I don't think that's what it is, but okay. I'm responding to you, creature. That's not our problem. I am curious if I took live off the thumbnail, and I'm wondering if our audience is seeing it and thinking it's an upload. Like, did we condition a lot of the sub base to see live down in the corner, and now I'm not doing that on a couple of thumbs? We'll bring it back and see. That could be affecting starting day click rate. I don't know. 1440 should become the standard. There's a handful pushing native, but there's always a common thread. Small environments, low NPC rendering, mostly static environments. Right. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is if you are pushing 4K 60, and let's just say it's not even native. You're going to do the DLSS or the upscaling or whatever the frick. So so you're quote unquote cheating. Yesterday's stream wasn't recommending. I had to go find it. I'm telling you, I can tell when YouTube's jacking around with stuff. Like, I can tell. You know what I'm saying? I can tell. When I have longtime members coming in and they're like, I couldn't find your stream, YouTube's messing around with something. We're getting crushed on our starting numbers. YouTube made a bunch of changes last week that make it really hard to not know someone is live. Doesn't matter if it hits their feed or if it hits their updates or their email, and we condition them to see that live down in the corner. They might think it's an upload, and think, oh, I'll watch that later, right? That's the hang up. No one's seriously asking for native or expecting native. Okay, well, let's set that down, because that's a giant distraction, and you guys are using that to make it seem like my argument's illegitimate. You're focusing on an incredibly small aspect of my point to get out from under everything else that I've been saying. Okay, so TVs in circulation are having an increase in 4K. So you're going to have a market that says, I really want to see 4K, I really want to see 4K. Great, sure. So you're going to have people saying that they want to see 4K and they want to see games in 4K, okay? I had to search for this yesterday, and I'm a longtime subscriber, says Mr. Muggle. Something shifted with YouTube. Aunt Sally says I wasn't notified. Yeah, they did something. Same for me. I had to go directly to the channel every day this week. I knew something was wrong. I was like, there's no way our audience just suddenly decided they don't want to watch me. It's like, what the frick are you doing, YouTube? If I'm on YouTube already, nothing gets sent. Just shows a bell on the top. right out of the app. No sound or pop. Well, I mean, that's fine. I don't want people to get smacked in the face. The point that I was making, and the point that no one's refuting, is that the common result is that games will more often land in 1440 60. Okay? The reason for that is all of the challenges and limitations of the hardware. Just because people have 4K televisions, and just because developers and companies want to push 4K, doesn't mean that the consoles can consistently do that in every game that comes out. All these photorealistic open world games, I'm telling you right now, there's not going to be this, oh yeah, there's every open world game that comes out's 4K 60. Even if you do what you're saying and you do the upscaling and it's not native. Sure. Stream's always in the top 3 for my recommended every day. Can't speak for notifications as I have them turned off. Yeah, it's not consistent. Like, I think they're testing live stream placement on the platform, and so I think some people are a part of the experiment and they're just not seeing it. I refute the point. 1440 is not a resolution TV support natively. 1440 to 4K DLSS looks better and is the same demand on the hardware. So 4K DLSS, that's where everybody's going to go. Everybody's going to go that route. They're going to all push for that. Okay. Does that mean games will be able to hit 4K 60? If we're never going to be able to utilize current tech because consoles come out once a decade and use outdated tech within a year, when are consoles going to die? This can't last forever. Well, and I think that's where you're going to start to see this, Harry. You're going to start to consistently see that they're going to do the performance thing on consoles like they're doing now. So you can buy the same game on your PC and get all the insane, crazy, higher frames per second, higher resolution, right? And then the console's going to have that performance thing. They're like, yeah, it'll run DLSS 4K, but it'll be 30. All the console features aren't being used. The Matrix demo is 30 FPS and struggling. Well, apparently the amount of moving parts, the amount of pieces to the city, the amount of things in the game, right, are the reason that, like, most people aren't going to push a game to its absolute breaking limit. Consoles probably will never die since a lot of people want casual couch experience. Yeah, I don't see consoles ever dying or going away. They're extremely accessible. They're extremely, marketable and look at the demand, right? Like look at the PS5 demand. The Xbox demand's gone down, but still, right? But still, it's crazy. Guys, do me a favor. If you already are subscribed to the channel and you've already hit like, thank you for doing that. Consider doing a membership or ordering some coffee. We don't run a lot of ads, and as a YouTuber, that's typically what they'll do. They'll run lots of ads or bake tons of ads into their streams, and we don't do that. So we live off of the members and the coffee. We're trying to do 5 new members a day and 5 coffee orders a day. We feel like that's a pretty meager goal, and that really helps us keep doing what we're doing. We need to see those things start to be more regular. It's a big portion of what we do here. We need next gen of console that's hardware customizable. Take the route of new gen laptops are taking to keep them up to date. The UE5 demo that Xbox showed yesterday wasn't that impressive. You know what's funny? I should have said that this morning. I knew people were going to say that. I knew people were going to say that. Right? Like, they'll do this, right? They'll get out the Unreal Engine. They'll show you crazy, cool new things with lighting and tech advancements, and people are going to be like, That's a cool looking shirt. Where'd you get that from? This shirt today, this Moon Knight shirt, is actually from Box Lunch. We're still working with 80s Tees, but Box Lunch sends me stuff every once in a while. So if you use the shirt command, it'll take you to that. It doesn't support me, by the way, if you order the shirt. I just figured if people wanted it, I would let you know where to get it. Your point's a bit all over the place. No, it's not. If the target frame rate is 30 FPS, then 4K all generations totally viable. If the target is 60, then a mix of upscaling can be used to hit 4K. Yeah, my point's not all over the place. I haven't changed what I've said the past hour. I've said the same thing over and over. 4K 60 will not be the most common thing that you find. It won't. Will it be done? Sure. There will be games with it. People heard me say it won't be common. The more common thing was going to be 1440 60, and they all were like, "Oh my gosh, no, Lono, that you have no idea what developers are going to do. You have no idea what these consoles are capable of." Okay. So the hardware in them's going to evolve. Like, I know the tech's evolving. I know DLSS is doing great things, but even right now with DLSS and really, really good hardware on a PC, 4K 60 is really challenging. Okay? So it would have to happen in phases. It would have to happen in phases. So 4K 60 on PCs would have to become more common. And when I say become more common, think about what I'm saying. That means that developers are taking the time to prioritize it, build it, and do it, okay? So you're expecting, in the market of gaming, you're expecting all these developers to push that as a priority. So not only are they going to push over to do technology and have to learn how to use it, which takes time, acclimation, and training, and money, which they might not even do. So let's say they do that. They're also going to prioritize 4K 60, which then also takes more time, optimization, and care, maybe even restricting what they do, number of NPCs, number of, dynamic things in the world, size of the open world, depth of photorealism. All these things are going to be then having to be in a relationship with 4K 60. You're gonna have to have a sort of shared prioritization to then optimize it so that it hits 4K 60. So you think that all these developers are going to do that because the hardware, as Eugene is saying, right? Hardware is not going to evolve, but what they can do will evolve. You have to make a distinction of upscaled 4K or native 4K. DLSS and FSR is becoming much more of a standard than your. Sorry, I had to sneeze. DLSS and FSR is becoming much more of a standard than you are considering. But that's not a response to what I'm saying. DLSS doesn't mean that all these people are going to be running 4K 60 games. That doesn't mean that becomes the industry standard. DLSS will become very common because tools like Unreal get them for free. Developers code once and distribute to many platforms. Oh, my thoughts on hardware customization. You got cut off. Yeah. I think it'd be a challenge, Harry. I think it'd be a challenge for a variety of reasons. Number one, I don't think Microsoft is in the hardware business. I think they want to get out of the hardware business. I think they would rather be in the software business. Creature pointed that out to me the other day, and I said it makes perfectly good sense because they do much better in the software realm, right? So I don't know if Microsoft wants to get into that because then you have to have other companies potentially making the hardware. You then need to vet the hardware. You then need to be able to push out drivers to your platform to support that hardware and make it run well and integrate with the rest of the hardware. There's a whole host of things there that I don't think Microsoft will ever be interested in. Then you got to ask the question, is Sony interested in that? And I just don't think so. I don't know. I find that to be... Number one, that becomes a challenge for your first-party developers because then your first-party developers have to develop for a spectrum of hardware, a spectrum of ever-changing hardware. Then new hardware comes out or hardware updates come out or driver updates come out, and then they have to consider that within the realm of their game, pushing out patches and updating their game. I just don't know if you're ever going to see consoles doing that. It complicates so many of what makes the console market function and run. It complicates a lot of those things. The problem is they start the game on PC, then they have to bring it down so it runs on all platforms. You have to take into account different engines as well. Look at Techland's Dying Light 2. It had to drop its res all the way down to 1080p to to hit 60 at launch. Yeah, so let's consider all the things that need to happen for 4K 60 to become the more common resolution and target on the consoles, because that's originally what I said. Originally, what I said was on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X that 4K 60 would not be the common target. You would see 4K 30 and 1440 60. I think that's going to be the more common target. So when you measure the market and you say how many games are out over the course of the next 5 years, 5 to 7 years, that's what you're going to see. And here's why. There's multiple things that have to happen in order for 4K 60 to become the most common target, okay? It means most developers have to prioritize it. I find that to be unlikely. Not only does it mean that most developers have to prioritize it, it means most developers have to be willing to switch to the technology that allows for it. So they got to switch to Unreal 5, learn Unreal 5. They got to switch to doing things with the DLSS, learn how to do DLSS, learn how to implement it into their game. And then they have to be willing to make developmental sacrifices within the game that they're building to achieve 4K 60. And you think the majority of the developing game world is going to do all those things? I don't think so. You're skirting the issue that 4K is not just native 4K at this point. If you're talking about using upscaling techniques, then you have to consider that internal 1080 can be upscaled to 4K with DLSS. Right, but I'm not talking about using technology to take an existing game or a game they've already been building or a game they've already been working on and saying, oh, hey, we can use this technology to achieve an upscaled 4K 60. Okay, but that doesn't mean all these developers are going to target that. That doesn't mean it's going to be that clean and that simple. Do you think, is that a one-size-fits-all thing? Every game you just slap DLSS into it and you're like, yep, we can take this game to 4K 60 now. I'm sure it'll get to a point where it's significantly easier to integrate games through it and do it. But again, that doesn't mean you're going to find that as the normative thing with new games coming out. New games coming out pushing for photorealism and big, large open world areas. I'm telling you, I don't see it. You think the industry will inhibit its progression forever to keep consoles in the loop? Tech improves exponentially, but consoles only update once a decade. Right, it's a significant rhythmic bottleneck, Harry, for sure. Love the topic today. Thank you, Orphan Twin. New games. That's what I'm saying, like new games being built right now. So your contention is they can just slap DLSS into it and be like, yeah, our game wasn't going to be 4K 60, but it is now. Upscaled. Nathival says it comes with the engine, so it technically is that easy. DLSS only works with NVIDIA cards, so... Isn't that what's in both the consoles, though? The Slipstream engine works pretty well with Halo, but they might make some side Halo project on different engines. Long time no see. Yo, what's good, Charles Freeman? PC players don't play cutting-edge graphics anyway. They still like old games. I don't know where the snobbery comes from. Yeah, snobbery on the internet typically just comes from insecure persons. Like, I don't think they're genuine people that understand technology. They're being nobody in chat's being snobbish today, but like PC snobs and stuff like that, they're just usually insecure people. I've not seen anybody in chat being a PC snob today. Xbox has all the features of RDNA 2 per AMD, so they need to utilize all features and then we will see. It's AMD in both consoles. Wait, so... I don't understand then. Educate me on this. I'm not an expert. How is DLSS going to work then on consoles? How does that function? Because didn't they do that for Outriders? How did that work? I think DLSS and FSR is becoming a developmental standard. I think that as we progress, we're going to see way less native rendering and way more DLSS and FSR. Oh, FSR is the AMD equivalent of DLSS. Okay, so FSR 2.0 is AMD's version. Okay, so hang on a second. What does FSR work in is that a thing? What engines does that work in right now? Because if people are... Basically what the argument sounded to me like today is, as long as people switch to Unreal 5 and use DLSS, then they can achieve this. If there's no DLSS on console, then that point makes literally no sense in the grand scheme of the discussion this morning. You guys, people kept citing DLSS and telling me that on the PS5 and the Series X, we would see consistent 4K 60 because of DLSS. And now I'm learning that DLSS isn't even possible on the consoles. FSR isn't anywhere close to DLSS, though. It's just basic upscaling. There's always a veil to pull back. There's always a veil to pull back and see under the hood. Yeah, this game runs 4K 60, and then we looked at it, and it didn't. How many times was that said today? With DLSS, Lono. DLSS, bro. You don't understand DLSS, Lono. Yeah, with DLSS, they'll be able to do that. Really? That's funny, because the PS5 and the Series X can't even friggin' do it. So, going back to my original point with the hardware performance bottlenecks on the Series X and the PS5, 4K 60 will not be as common as 1440 60. 4K 60 will not be as common, and I kept getting told, yeah, with DLSS, man, DLSS, they'll be able to do it. Really? I don't understand DLSS. It sounds like maybe some of you don't understand DLSS because it's not even possible on the consoles because they're not NVIDIA. I'm not a tech guy. I've never claimed to be a tech guy. I was making an industry prediction based on the current trends we're seeing with games, the current graphical performance of the consoles themselves, and how challenging it's been to hit 4K 60 on PC. And I kept getting told that, oh no, man, DLSS, dude, they're gonna be able to do it. Oh, sure. FSR is the same thing as DLSS. DLSS is more advanced than FSR because DLSS came out first. Okay, so we got to modify the argument then. So then the people that are disagreeing with me would say FSR will catch up, achieve the same things that DLSS is doing, and then that means developers will tap into it and consistently crank out 4K 60 games. So now the prediction is a little bit different, but it's the same principal idea, that you're going to use new technology to hit 4K 60 consistently. FSR is already achieving what DLSS is. So yeah, we're getting conflicting reports in chat about FSR. I'm not a tech guy, so I don't know the prowess and the advancement of FSR at this moment in time. Why is there only one game across both systems after 1+ year of them being out that uses FSR if it's going to be a game changer and so widely used? Well, K. Smitty, to be fair, if I was going to argue for the other side, I would simply tell you that we all know that development cycles are incredibly slow, and it's going to take a while for the industry to adapt the new tech. It's going to take a while for those games to be built. It's not fair to look at the games that land when the generations of consoles first come out. Like, I'm not even arguing on their side, and I think that's a fair-made point that they would say in response to what you just said. How is one of my favorite games in the thumbnail involved? I don't know. My producer changed the thumbnail. What did he change it to? Oh, the next Tomb Raider will be built in Unreal 5. That was announced by Crystal Dynamics. So Crystal Dynamics is actually making another Tomb Raider, which I'm kind of excited about. I hope they make a good one because the third one wasn't very good. And they've said they're going to be building it in Unreal 5. Like, I'm going to allow for what Mo and some other people have been saying, that they'll learn the tech, They'll get better at optimization. They'll start building game. Like, here's the problem for the Series X, Mo. Have they indicated when they're going to leave behind old gen? When are they going to start building Series X only games? If they never do that, are you sure they're going to actually prioritize what you think they're going to prioritize? Why would they do that? Have they indicated a timeline for that? Will there start to be Xbox Series X only games? If they're never going to do Xbox Series X only games, then I can't see them trying to say we need to squeeze more out and you know, create this version of a game that you're postulating they're going to make. FSR was able to be used in Unreal 4. It's not that a 12 plug-in Unreal 5. But DLSS and FSR will let your console use less CPU to make up the next frame and will essentially make it so 144 is what devs call filler frames to help it run a lot smoother, as far as I can tell. That remains to be seen. I don't think 144 is going to... I just don't think so. I don't think the console's hardware is strong enough to do 144 in most of the games. Now, in a small strip down... If it looks like this and you strip down the graphics, I think 144, sure. But again, we're assuming that that's what the tech's going to allow for. They're going to be able to just 144 all the time. Crystal Dynamics is currently making Perfect Dark for the Xbox, so don't expect Tomb Raider development to start anytime soon. No, but they're just saying, hey, we're going to make Tomb Raider and it's going to be in the Unreal 5 engine. DLSS and FSR are not the same. They both aim for the same goal, but completely different technologies. Right. So, like, okay, my original statement, I don't think I need to adjust it, and here's why. I still think the average developer who builds games... Think about what we just said about development cycles, okay? Because I was pushing back on what K. Smitty was saying. I'm like, listen, development cycles are incredibly long, okay? So that means any games in development right now are unlikely to benefit from FSR's advancements because their game's already in development. So their game comes out in the next 2, 3 to 4 years. Even if FSR advances during that time, that does not automatically mean they can retroactively bake that into whatever they did or benefit from it. That doesn't automatically mean that. It does mean that, sure, some games might say, hey, these FSR advancements are really going to help us maintain frame rate and resolution. You're hoping right now that any game in development is going to say, bro, 4K 60 will be totally possible. We just got to keep pushing and developing and trust that FSR is going to save our butt on the consoles, okay? I think that's unlikely. I think most of the games being developed right now that will ship this year, 2023 and 2024, they're already so far in development, it's unlikely that they will benefit from those technological advancements. So you're talking about like wave 3 and 4 of game development for the PS5 and the Series X, that becoming the standard. Like 2024 and beyond, we're thinking... And you guys are claiming and theorizing that FSR will be so advanced and so much better that 4K 60 will become the norm, and my prediction will be false. That 4K 60 will be the norm on the consoles. That's all I was talking about. I was not talking about PC or games in general. I was saying PS5 and the Series X are just too weak. I don't see it happening. I think so many things have to happen in the background for my prediction to not be true. I just think there's so many games already in development. That's problem number one. Problem number two is we don't know if FSR is even going to advance as fast as you need it to impact the launch cycles on these consoles. I really think once they use all the features in the system, says Mo, that remains to be seen. Oh, did Mo answer my question? This one will be the longest cycle, I think, because of the shortage. Okay, so yeah, we don't have a date or a timeline from Xbox or Microsoft on when the first Xbox Series X only game will land. They don't even have that yet, do they? 2.0? Yeah, I don't know. All the current games in development I'm working on support 4K 60. How many games are you working on? Are you literally working on the entire industry? That doesn't mean everybody else is. Are you working on games for PS5 and Series X, or are you working on games for PC? Horizon Zero Dawn on PC was patched to support DLSS after it launched. That wasn't a very good port. I don't think we can look at Horizon Zero Dawn's port and determine anything about what the market's going to do. It wasn't the greatest port. It was a game that wasn't ever really designed to do what they did with it. Starfield and Redfall. Okay, so Starfield and Redfall will be Xbox Series X only games. Okay, and Motorsport. Okay, so let's talk about Starfield. Okay, so Starfield launches and successfully is 4K 60. I know it's not native. We're using the vernacular that everybody else is using because apparently you can say something that's like kind of true in the tech world. I've never seen this before in my frickin' life, right? Like if the hertz of a video card or a CPU were a number, that was the number I got. It wasn't like, well, it's a 3.5 gigahertz processor, asterisk. It's actually a 2.1 in our post-processing overclock and our aftermarket coolant system. Shut the frick up. Like, that's not... I've never been in the tech world buying equipment and being told a number that's, like, true, kind of. Like, okay. We've just accepted, like, corporate speak. We're like, well, yeah, that's just what everybody's accepted. Okay, I don't find that to be acceptable, but whatever. In any case, let's say Starfield is 4K 60. let's say Starfield's 4K 60. That could influence the next generation of games to come out for the Series X only to be 4K 60. It could. The question remains, will it be 4K 60 and be consistent? Or will it do all these little dynamic trickery things where 4K is consistently dropping to 1800? Or the 60 frames per second is a rarity. It's consistently landing in the 40s to 50s. Every time my studio ships moving forward will support 4K 60. Every game my studio ships moving forward will support 4K 60 on console. Right, but you could be cherry picking. I don't know what you're working on. Are you working on open world photorealistic games? Or are you working on little indie games that are side scrollers or have graphics like Fortnite? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, sure. If like, I'm talking about big open world photorealistic games running at 4K 60, like the games that would really benefit from 4K 60. I'm not saying that like a 4K 60 Fortnite wouldn't look amazing, but the graphical fidelity of the games isn't even comparable. Like, they're doing different things. So what type of games are you working on? Are they open world photorealistic games? Or are they... like, how many independent NPCs are there? Do you have, like, actual dynamic weather? Do you have things happening in the game that are firing and moving independent of the character? Like, or is it on rails? Like, you know what I mean? I work at a AAA studio making open world games for the most part. Are you not allowed to tell us what studio you work for? Dying Light 2 can't hit 4K 60 on a 3080, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, but that could be engine level. That's the point that some of these guys were making. Some of the guys in chat that are more educated than me on this were like, Lono, the tech keeps advancing, bro. Like, if the engines advance and the tech advances, these things will be more possible. So yeah, Dying Light's engine is probably the bottleneck, right? It's potentially... I can tell you where I work, but not chat. Please ignore Dylan. He is not a developer. Absolutely not a developer. Wait, do you guys work for the same company? Always wary of devs in chat. I mean, clearly, Nathival, or whatever his name is, clearly Nathival and Corey, and I think Dylan was saying some things, clearly they know what the frick they're talking about. I'm not some super educated developer. I was making predictions off of what I've seen so far and the bottleneck on these platforms. The PS5 and the Series X is what I was talking about. I was like, I don't see it. I don't see 4K 60 being common. I didn't say it wouldn't happen. I said it wouldn't be common. I said the more common thing you would find would be 1440 60. Havoc says, no way to do this in small amount of characters. I actually agree with your point about consoles, native hardware not being able to run native 4K 60 except for a select few games. DLSS and FSR are upscaling technologies by NVIDIA and AMD. DLSS uses specific parts of the card that are hardware AI accelerators. FSR is a bit different in that you can put it on anything, literally anything. You can even run it on NVIDIA cards. The Steam Deck has been a huge advancement and leaps in performance thanks to FSR, but that's a bit different as it's upscaling from 540 to 720. FSR is advancing and catching up fast, but it's still a bit behind, and it remains to be seen if it will be effective in this console realm. The last point is that there may be a console with DLSS soon. The Switch Pro rumors are that it has been leaked to have an NVIDIA GPU. This means the Switch Pro may actually pack a punch. Oh, I'll be very excited about that. That if that's true, that means really good things for Breath of the Wild too. To your point, I agree. This console gen will not hit a locked native 4K 60. Well, everybody's going to get angry if we start saying native 4K 60 because they're like almost none of the games that are bragging about 4K 60, targeting 4K 60, or hitting 4K 60, they're not hitting it natively. Do you see what I'm saying? I tripped up on that this morning because I was like, no way you're hitting 4K 60, because in my mind I'm thinking native, and they're like, yeah, no games really do, and I'm like, oh. Like, nobody's actually doing it. They're using technology. They're using a little bit of a magic wand. It's trickery, right? It's not native. You know, whoever you just read is spot on. It was Havoc in the Discord. I don't think anyone in chat thinks they'll hit 4K native. I wasn't aware that all the 4K 60 was wand waving. I wasn't aware of that. I thought games targeting 4K 60 were actually targeting 4K 60. I mean, I was ignorant about that. I don't think that ignorance means my point about PS5 and Series X and what developers decide to adopt and how fast they adopt it, how effectively they can adopt it and crank it out. I still don't think that my point is undone by my ignorance. I still think that's going to be a huge struggle for the PS5, Series X, and all the game developers that are out there. Some games are running native, but that's not the standard. That's not, and it's not the goal of this gen. I'm honestly fine with checkerboard 4K as long as it has stable frame rate. That's what I think other people were. I think people were misunderstanding that as well. I think 4K checkerboard 60 looks amazing. God of War. The original God of War, upscaled on PC and upscaled on PS5, 4K checkerboard on my PS5, I thought looked unbelievably good. I wasn't like being picky and being like, yeah, that's not actually 4K. I never once said that. I never once said that. I said, looks fine to me. I think people thought I was being like a graphics snob. And I'm like, I'm not being a graphics snob. I'm trying to be rigid in our wording and our definitions because that's the entire point, right? Is it's so easy to make a claim and then like attach an asterisk to it. Our game's 4K 60 native. And you're like, well, our game's 4K 62, ... Ghost is upscaled 4K? Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah. Yeah, so like people might have been misunderstanding and thinking like I was being some sort of like a graphic snob. And I'm like, yeah, like putting my, glasses on the end of my nose and be like, that's not actually 4K 60. Like, that's not what I was saying. I was saying, if it's not native, I don't know. It feels like you're cheating. It'd be like being like, dude, that CPU is a 5.5 gigahertz. And it's like, but you overclocked it. So if I buy that CPU, I'm not getting what you're getting. You had to do something after the fact. Like, sure, it looks pretty. Sure, it means they can achieve 4K 60 on some of these consoles, right? But I still think market adaptation is going to be slow, and I think it's going to be challenging. I don't think it's going to be as easy as folks were making it out to be. PS5 and the Xbox Series X are really powerful consoles. They're a lot more capable graphically than people think. The hardware in there, like... All right, think about it from this perspective. In 5 years, the hardware in the PS5 and the Series X is going to be pretty outdated, is it not? So in 2027, do you see what I'm saying? don't you feel like a lot of what you're saying will fundamentally undercut some of your hopes and predictions about what the PS5 and the Series X get? So you're hoping that as hardware on PCs advance over the next 5 years, we'll have pro versions? Yeah, maybe. Maybe pro versions come out. I disagree. The PS4 lasted 8 years. See, you're not interacting with what I said. I didn't say they would go away. Their technology, their hardware will be considered inferior. You think the 6th and 7th year in the PlayStation 4's life cycle that its hardware wasn't inferior? It was. The tech will be older, but the dev's ability to get more out of it will be better. Okay, Eugene, what have we learned? What happens when PC tech advances and devs make games for both console and PC? What's been the pattern in the industry? Have they really cared about the performance on the consoles? Have they really prioritized that? Now, games that only come out, sure, like first-party developers for the PS5, they're going to continue to push the envelope. Yep, first-party titles for the Series X, yep, they'll keep pushing the envelope. Sure. But like I said, the majority of the games that come out won't be 4K 60. And I think tech advancements in PC land are going to play a role here. Because what do developers love to do? A lot of what your argumentation is built on is, I think, the pretty fair premise that developers love to push things and use the new tech and use the new discoveries. Yeah, you're right. They do. And they're going to do that as PCs leave the consoles in their dust once again. And then the PC games are going to be doing things. And you're hoping that FSR will be there to save the consoles. FSR will be there like, yeah, no problem. We can do that over here too. You're just going to have to use you're going to have to use these optimization tricks, basically. There has to be enough people with PCs more capable. Maybe. I mean, how long did it take? I don't know. 2080 Ti's, well, I guess the circulation of those might be thrown off because of the crypto farming. They developed to the lowest common denominator. Is that what happened with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4? Is that what happened? So like Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War, those developers were pressuring Sony to let them port to PC because the game was held back by the console. Like, they didn't get to do all the things they wanted to do because they were like, oh man, these consoles aren't strong enough. Why was that the case? Because the tech advanced and they did cooler things and they added things and awesome lighting and all this stuff to God of War and Forbidden West. And what did it do? It drove performance down. It drove frame rate down. What do you think is going to happen on these consoles? You're having a whole lot of faith in FSR. You're thinking that, like, yeah, as tech advances and developers push new texture, new lighting, new this, new that, end of life cycle of PS5 and the Series X, oh yeah, 4K 60 everywhere. Really? That's interesting because first-party titles for the PlayStation 4 couldn't do that. They pushed the graphics to a degree and they couldn't get beyond 30. They were capped, basically. So the tech of the hardware of the PlayStation 4 held the game in a holding pattern of performance, even though the advancement in development had taken place. Do you see the principle that I'm outlining? So you think FSR will keep the goalposts moving forward as opposed to eventually being like, no, these consoles are stuck at this level. This is why this series of systems went the way they did, and why the dev kits for the systems came later, and why the PlayStation has better performance right now, because the dev kit was out longer. When consoles come out, they're usually already outdated technically. The most important part console-wise is that you have a decent engine, but the PS5 and Xbox Series X isn't weak. I'm not saying they're weak. It's a very clear principle that I'm outlining. Developers were discovering new, awesome, cool things that they wanted to do. They did it with Horizon Forbidden West. They did it with Ghost of Tsushima. They did it with God of War Ragnarok. And what happened? They had to work within the framework of that hardware, and all those games were 30 FPS. Same with Spider-Man. And if they would have been, and guess what? When they put them on PCs, they all got to do all the extra cool, awesome stuff. Why? Because the PC hardware could do all those fancy new things. The same thing's going to happen with the Series X and the PlayStation 5. PC hardware will advance, technology and gaming will move forward, lighting, textures, and really exciting, awesome new things will happen, and the frame rate will be the bottleneck. The frame rate will be the bottleneck, and then and again. The only way frame rate's not the bottleneck is if FSR saves them. And it's like, well, no, we can do this. We can upscale and maintain frame rate on these consoles. I think the devs learn how to use the hardware better as time progresses, and that pushes the current benchmark for the hardware further than it was. Yeah, but there's always a bottleneck. There was a frame rate bottleneck on the last consoles. I don't want that on there, Creature. I don't want the red text on there. On that thumbnail. I get what you're doing. I get what you're doing, but I read and looked into the things that the man was accused of and the man admitted to, and I don't think that's a take I want on my thumbnail. Oh, it was a joke. Okay. I was like, oh my gosh. Please no. If you guys are interested this afternoon, like here, let's go full screen here. Let's take a bit of a break. If you guys like conversations, debates, and discussions like this about gaming, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure the bell button is selected. Make sure and smash the like button and take our poll. We could definitely hit 300 likes. Help us hit 300 likes. This afternoon over on Reforge Radio, we will be talking about Louis C.K. He won a Grammy. Everybody's really angry, claiming that cancel culture is a myth because, 5 years later, the guy is able to work again and have his album awarded an award. So we're going to be discussing that over on Reforge Radio. Reforge Radio is our other channel that gets, into pretty deeper topics, cultural topics, political things, matters of faith, etc. And so we'll be discussing that over there. So make sure you're subscribed to Reforge Radio. We will also be this afternoon taking a look at Trek to Yuma new gameplay that came out. I don't know what's happening on YouTube. We went from being really consistent in December, and even January is supposed to be a really slow month. We had great starting numbers, really great support for Variety Gaming Talk Show, and now we can't even get out of the starting gate with really big news, like Star Wars Lego game. We struggled yesterday. We're struggling this morning. I'm not sure what's happening. If YouTube is having trouble and you're having trouble finding us, just know we're here Monday through Friday, every day, keeping to a schedule. So just check the channel, just check back every day, because I'm not sure what YouTube has done, but they are absolutely murdering our ability to perform and cover industry news, and I don't know what the cause is. We covered Ashes of Creation and struggled. We covered Lego Star Wars and struggled. We're covering Unreal 5 and we're struggling. I don't know what's going on, but we are having people coming in and saying, I didn't know that you were live. I didn't get the recommend. I didn't see you. So make sure you're checking the channel every day, because I don't know what the frick's going on, but we're definitely not covering like little stinker stories. Like, I really don't know what's happening. Didn't want to watch Lego Star Wars because I'm thinking of buying it and playing with my girlfriend. How was it? Well, we covered it in the morning as a talk show, Harry, so I don't know. I thought it was really good. My issue with it, Harry, I really like beating the levels and then going back on free play and finding all the stuff. They have a ton of scripted events in like little cutscenes and things that you can't skip. So because of that, I got a little, almost like immediately kind of irritated. Like, I really loved playing through the game, and I really loved, going in and saying, oh, hey, let's take a look at, this level and all the cool things that are happening. But then the minute I went back to like replay it, it was like it was so scripted and so annoying. It was so scripted and like so annoying that I couldn't enjoy it. I could not enjoy it because it was so scripted and so annoying that like just going room to room and like trying to do stuff, it was like it kept interrupting me, right? So my feedback to them on the game is if you're going to expect me to go back through and do these like find everything, do the challenges, do the secret missions, do the secret rooms, if you want me to do that, you can't have all these scripted things, and you can't have all these things that don't let me go back. Like I made one mistake and went down a hole and couldn't go backwards. I was like, what the frick is going on? Like, I think they made some pretty significant mistakes design-wise with the game. So, oh yeah, thank you, Creature. Yeah, today's the last one. A quick coffee testimonial, says Peaches. My wife normally never finished the coffee we make at home. She was surprised and a little disappointed when she found her cup of Rageless Roast was empty. It's great stuff. Thank you, Peaches. We do try to sell about 5. We'd like to get 5 orders of Rageless Roast a day. Keep in mind, this is not a sponsor. Like, my wife and kiddos bag it up. They put like a little thank you note in the bag. It's very good coffee. The balanced acidity is one of the reasons it's so drinkable. We also have a dark roast, so make sure you're checking out both of those. If you are a coffee drinker, just be warned. If you're a coffee drinker, it is extremely smooth and it makes other coffee taste not as good. My wife is fully switched over to Rageless Roast. Most everyone's a better statement than everybody, though, because the hardcore have 120. Oh, you guys are still debating that. Did you ever play the original Unreal? Yeah, back in the day, I played Unreal. Then I played Unreal Tournaments. Yeah, we did. We had a good time with those games. Unreal Tournament was a really good game. It really was. The thing with consumer tech advances is it doesn't matter if high-end can do X if not enough people have the capability to make it worth being developed for. So in 5 years, it doesn't matter. Right, but isn't that really related to like almost everything I was talking about? Like, I feel like those are mutually exclusive points, that like they're going to develop for the lowest common denominator, and there's a lot of PCs that aren't exceptionally strong out there, and the consoles themselves are somewhat limited in what they can do. But they're all going to push for 4K 60 and using FSR and squeezing the absolute most out of these consoles and PC. Like, I don't know. The highest end PCs can do 8K 360. If not enough people can take advantage of it, it won't be developed for outside of extremely niche circumstances. These past few days, I haven't really gotten my noti on time on mobile. It'll show up maybe 30 to 45 minutes after when the noti finally goes off, or if I'm refreshing the stream. Come on, YouTube, get it together. Yeah. They fiddled with something, and it's absolutely killing us. Like, our numbers have been cut in half, and it's purely YouTube's doing. We went from like, no matter what we covered, no matter what we did, we would have a ton of people here, and we're getting murdered, and I don't know why. It's super weird, you know? Although when we covered Fortnite, Building Removed didn't do so hot. Witcher 4 versus Cyberpunk didn't do so hot. I think maybe we just leaned on Elden Ring too much. You know, Dr. Disrespect, we didn't do too hot. Tiny Tina Wonderlands didn't do so hot. I don't know. PS Plus, the PS Game Pass announcement didn't do too hot there either. You know, I just think, I don't know. I think maybe we did so much Elden Ring that we might have done the thing that we did with our other channel, that like, hey, this is an Elden Ring channel, so we're not going to recommend a video if it's not Elden Ring to people. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I was going to try and hit 2 and move. I don't know. Live discoveries being heavily changed, memberships being massively adjusted. Yeah, they're fiddling with something because it keeps telling me on my dashboard, congratulations for hitting some membership milestone. I'm like, okay. Lono's Eternal Boss Fight, the algorithm. Yeah. YouTube's algorithm is a blessing and a curse. Like, we can put on a great show and cover great topics and have a great time, and YouTube can just say, no, we're not going to tell your audience you're live. We're not going to put you in funnels, and you're just, like, stuck. Yeah, we'll do it 45. Because if I can beat the 5-minute timer. I can beat the 5-minute timer. The Noti will go out in 5 if it actually goes out. Let's do this. And it's weird too, because like the discussion this morning's been great. You guys have been awesome. Chat's been super active. It's been like all the things that we look for in a live stream. You know what I mean? It's like, as far as the experience is concerned, everything is exactly what we want to see. And then YouTube's just like got its arms crossed again. I'm like, I'm so freaking tired of dealing with this, man. It's like, why? I just want to boot up and do a show and not think about all this freaking crap. But it's like, here we are yet again, you know, everything's going fine. And then all of a sudden someone kicks the slats out from under us and we have no freaking clue why. It's like, I'm so sick of it. It's like years and years of, not years, but in 2 months, we'll be doing this for 2 years on this platform. And it's like still not being able to wrangle my head around what the frick you want from me. Like as a platform, not the audience. Like, you guys show up and buy into what we do, and we have a great time. And then YouTube's just sitting there, like, every other day tying my shoelaces together. Look at search, next to nothing. Yeah, and that's YouTube doing that. We have a relevant topic and a relevant title, and we got 0 search. Like, that's YouTube doing that. That's not us. It's not the audience. It's YouTube. Like, I can't control the platform deciding not to put my video anywhere. Like, I have no control over that. You know what I mean? Like, I can always tell. Like, we get 30 minutes in, I'm like, great, YouTube shot us in the back today. Like, it's so freaking irritating. Zero build's been fun. Feels like a different game. Yeah, if we had a place for it, I really like the idea of doing like no build squads, because no build solo is not fun. No build solo is like super slow. You fight bots a bunch. You know what I mean? Your stuff isn't showing up for me, and I've been watching since the beginning. Yeah, like I said, they're doing something. They're fiddling around with something, and it literally cuts our numbers in half. Like, we're basically only streaming to like the hyper aware viewers that come to the channel to see if I'm live. It's like, the fact that we can even post decent numbers is awesome. It means that we have a very loyal base that checks the channel every dadgum day. Because if you guys didn't do that, I would literally be streaming to nobody. Like, Unreal 5 announces, big huge announcement, everybody covering getting crazy numbers. We're getting a 3% search, and it's none of it's for Unreal. It's all for Reforge Gaming. So I don't know why that's the case. Like, what did we title today? The title is super easy. Unreal 5. I'm just going to switch it to Unreal 5 Engine. I'm just taking the pipe out. I'm telling you, I think I wonder if it's the frickin' pipe. I moved away from using the pipe for the longest time. You can tell me all day long it doesn't do anything. I still get paranoid about that kind of stuff. It's like search trips on you. It's like, oh no, you can't use that. All right. Stop blaming the lack of games progression on people that are happy with what they have. You're the outlier. You want games to progress, get people to buy better hardware. What are you talking about specifically, Eugene? You're debating with somebody in chat. What specifically are you pinpointing? There were no pipes in the Star Wars streams. There was a pipe in the Ashes of Creation stream. There was a pipe in the PlayStation Plus stream. There was no pipe in the Star Wars Saga gameplay stream. Yeah. I know that's not it. But it always makes me paranoid. I'm like, I don't know. For the longest time, I moved away from using that in the title, and I just wonder if sometimes it trips up search. Because, like, it's not a normal character. Even TubeBuddy's been warning me about it. It's like, yeah, we're removing that from your search results. What is a pipe? It looks like it's the symbol that looks like an eye. It's just like a straight up and down line. He said, not enough people have PCs stronger than consoles. And I said, what about in 5 years when we have 5090s and 3090s because they're dirt cheap? When I type in Unreal Engine 5, you come up third? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is it literally how that works? Unreal Engine 5. Yeah, incognito. We're not getting any. I don't think we're getting any love. No. Yeah, we're pretty far down. 2, 4, 6, 8. We're ninth. We're fourth if you add the word engine. So maybe the title change was hurting it. Maybe the title change will help us. If you're tuning in and you want the Unreal 5 engine breakdown, we have been watching this about the Unreal 5 engine and talking through. Basically, we had a pretty lengthy debate about 60 FPS versus 30 FPS, and then we talked about 4K 60 and why I think 4K 60 is going to be pretty rare, in the grand scheme of things. I don't think a lot of developers are going to push for 4K 60. I'm not saying 4K native. I'm saying I know they use technology to upsample. So just, 4K in general, 4K 60 with how they're doing it right now with upsampling, DLSS, and everything else. Nobody's searching for Unreal Engine 5. Put video game radio because people just want to chill and have background vibe. We have ways of looking for what's being searched. So what you're saying is not true. I mean, we know what we're doing. We didn't double the channel sub count by doing that. We didn't double the channel sub count by doing that. Like, we had great success in December and January covering all sorts of industry news and using our research to, help people find us. Right? There's, if you know what you're doing on YouTube, no loopholes, no cheating, you can be like, okay, here's a popular topic. Here's how to make a thumb and a title, and people looking for that topic should find us. YouTube changed something with live stream discovery. I have literal committed subscribers being like, I couldn't find you today. They're subbed to the channel. They're a paying member. And they're like, I couldn't find you. So something's going on. Yo, the 7 Dova was 6 months. Hello, how are you today? Thank you, man, for renewing that membership. Helping people find you who then stay for a day and leave. Your churn rate's insanely high. Really, you can see the demographics in the audience tab on my channel. You know that my churn rate's incredibly high. You have access to my metrics. That's interesting. How did you get access to the metrics on my channel in the audience tab? That's weird. Because April 1st, we had almost the same number of returning viewers as new viewers. April the 4th, almost the exact same number of returning viewers as new viewers. So maybe don't talk about something that you have no idea about. Maybe. Told us your growth rate for 2 years just now? No, I didn't. No. We've been streaming on YouTube for 2 years. We've not been streaming on this channel for 2 years. I came back on my phone and the thumbnail's different. Yeah, we were trying a different thumbnail too. I'm here because I've been here since the other game, but I mentioned before I don't play other games except that one. It's great background noise. Yeah. It's one thing if we pick a topic that lots of people aren't interested in, but when I have longtime subs that are like, I couldn't see you live today, your input's irrelevant, like Nathival. With respect, your input is irrelevant. When I have longtime subs that are like, I didn't even know you were live right now. I have people that are interested in my content that have no idea that have no idea I'm live. You don't think that affects viewership in a significant way? Yeah, we're not backseat gaming now. We're backseat streaming. There was a couple of weeks ago where we had a ton of new people coming in saying, hey, you were on my suggest today. Hey, you were on my suggest today. I think YouTube's experimenting with live stream discovery. I think they're fiddling with stuff, and it's hurting us. It just is one of the things they do. I don't understand why people can't find you. You search any name in the channel and about list 5, you're still the same results. Right, here's what happens, Omega. So they open up their phone or they open up YouTube, and I'm usually on the side or I'm usually right in front of them. Boom, live. Here's what he's talking about. And every once in a while, they're like, yeah, you weren't there today. I don't know what's going on. You weren't at the top. Like, it's a pretty huge deal when you double your sub count in a couple of months and all those people keep coming back, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I didn't see you were live. How many people click purely based off browse? A lot. A lot of people. The majority of our viewers come from browse. And if I'm not showing up on a subscriber's funnel, then YouTube has done something. I don't have control over that, and neither does the user. It's not the user's like opens the app and says, no, I don't want to see him today. Like he talks to his phone and it does it. I came from browse. Yeah. They're just fiddling with something. That's why I keep telling people, make sure you're subbed, make sure you got the bell button pressed, and make sure you check the channel every day, because they're clearly doing something. I shouldn't have to search for you, as I've been subbed for years now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a bummer when this happens, because people that are like, I love watching and I love supporting, but I literally couldn't find you today. Lately, the only reason why I find the channel is because of the notification. I go on the pages and he's not there. See what I'm saying? That's like a paying member who's like, yeah, I use noties because I don't see him live. Like, you see what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, a paying member, I should be front and center if I'm live, if I've uploaded a video. A paying member? Yo, D Dizzle with 8 months. Morning, Lono. I can say a few times that happens. I didn't see you in my feed. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. People have a really hard time typing Reforge Gaming into the search bar at 8 a.m. I didn't realize it was that hard for people. It's not. It seems like it's hard for you to understand that users don't treat everything the way that you do, right? You seem to be having a hard time understanding that there's a large spectrum of users, and YouTube is literally built on the idea of putting things in front of you that they think you're going to enjoy based off of your behavior. So it makes zero sense for someone to consistently open the app and see me live and see my video fed to them, and then all of a sudden it doesn't do that. That's called breaking the user expectation. When you do this, it hurts interaction, it hurts engagement. You get about 2 to 3 clicks before users leave your website. So maybe study usability and maybe study like user retention and like gradual integration, or I don't know. You seem to know about certain things, but you don't seem to understand like usability of a website and how users interact with the platform. You think everybody does that? By the way, going to YouTube and searching, using the search bar to search for a channel you're sub to, honestly, the irony of you saying that is that's an incredibly weird way to interact with the app. If that's what you like to do, good for you, but that's not what the average person does. They open the app and they're like, I previously subbed to these channels. I enjoy consuming these channels. Where are they? They should be right in front of you. Going to the search bar every day? It doesn't even make any sense. But if that's how you use the app, good for you. But I'm not like, expecting other people to do that is bizarre. When I type Unreal, it autofills Unreal Engine 5 and you show up as 20th. When I type out Unreal 5 Engine, you show up second. Huh. Yeah, see? Yeah. We're not getting put into the search funnel for some reason. I don't know why. It's not the channel, it's because we're live. They're treating live streams differently depending on the day. I think they're experimenting with stuff. To me, I don't depend on notifications. 9 a.m., I immediately go to YouTube, watch the show. Yeah, everybody's different. You seem to think that all users are equally valuable. If you target users who are engaged and not passively consuming whatever YouTube puts in front of them, you will sell more coffee. That's the weirdest non sequitur I think I've ever read. Target users who are engaged and not passively consuming whatever YouTube puts in front of them, ... you will sell more coffee. I don't understand how the two are logically connected. We all have hundreds of subs. All of them can't be right in front of you. I don't think his comment was too out of line. But people don't come to the platform and use the search bar to find the content that they're subscribed to. That's not a common thing. I can literally tell you that based off of the metrics on every... Like, we've been doing this for 2 years. Like, we know what we're doing, right? So, like... The percentage of people that do that on a video that gets anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 views, there might be 100 people that do that. They literally go to YouTube and they type in the search bar Reforge Gaming. 100 people out of thousands. Most people don't do that. That's, you know what I'm saying? His comment was out of line. He was acting like everybody should use the platform in this way. Everybody should use the search bar. And I'm like... What? No. Why should every user have to do that? You're literally asking the user to take more steps. I've always said you got to respect the user. Like, imagine that you've been watching me for a couple of weeks, and every time you open up the app, you're like, ooh, what's he doing today? Boom, and you click, because I'm talking about something, or you want to see me rage out in Elden Ring, right? And you click every day, and I'm right there in front of your face. And then you open the stream on a Monday, and a Tuesday, and a Wednesday, and I'm not there, okay? What's the average user going to conclude? Oh, he must not be streaming. Oh, he must not have uploaded. Like, the average person's not like, time to put on my Sherlock Holmes hat, time to be a crack squad YouTuber, let me go search for him. They're like, oh, he must not be streaming. I don't think there's anything wrong with people concluding that. It's not on the user to go hunt and peck and search for me. If they've consistently been hanging out in here and they've been subbed to me for a really long time and I'm not in front of them when they open up the app or the browser, there's a reason for that. Either YouTube's fiddling with something, or, honestly, if they've not watched in a really long time, it will start doing that. It'll start pushing me down. But somebody that's like, there are names in chat that are here every dadgum day, and they're like, yeah, you weren't at the top of my list today. That doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm saying, like, YouTube's fiddling with stuff. So putting it on the user, like, acknowledging premise, YouTube's fiddling with stuff. Conclusion, well, they should just go to the search bar and search for you. No, that's the wrong conclusion. You don't put it on the user. You don't do that. I don't think that's the appropriate way to talk about it. I don't like when people start talking about people as if they're dumb. Like, why wouldn't they just go type it in the search bar? Is that too hard? That's why I smacked it down. I'm like, don't talk about the subs that way. It's not their job to come find me. Saying you can't make YouTube suggest you. You can only make more people search for you. Yeah, so... Now we're to the point where I think you said enough things to indicate you don't know what you're talking about for me just to move on, because we actually get a great suggest rate and we also get a great search rate. They're both realities that exist on YouTube. It's not a dichotomy of one against the other, and both can result from covering relevant topics. The displays are different now. Live indication is now limited to the avatar. This is all. Lono is always number 2 on my feed after some BS ad. Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind them putting an ad in your face. I mean, they need to monetize their platform. That doesn't bother me. I've maybe missed 10 days total over the past year. I watch and listen every day. This channel and the old have been at the top of my list for the past year, yet the past couple of weeks I've had to actively search. That is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's not on the user. It isn't. It's on YouTube to ensure that they put the content in front of the people that want to see it and are subscribed to it. It's not on the user. K-Billy should not have to go searching for me. That's absurd. Hi guys, first time watching a live stream on YouTube. I got here through Spotify content. Great work overall. Keep it up. Yo, thanks for coming all the way from Spotify. Sorry, we're not talking about the topic. We've got it running in the background. We're off subject because YouTube's been fiddling with stuff. And listen, the conclusion is if you like the content every day, sadly, this happens every once in a while. Just know I'm here Monday through Friday. So if you have to go search for me, it's a bummer. Or you know, turn on noties or get in our Discord or follow me on Twitter. You know, I don't want to put it on you, but unfortunately, that's what you kind of have to do. You have to do all those extra steps just in case YouTube starts fiddling with stuff. Because we almost never take breaks, and if I take breaks, I usually let you know numerous days in advance that, hey, I'm going to be on vacay or something. We are extremely consistent. It's not the users, it's YouTube's UI being overhauled. Yeah, that's why I push back on somebody being sort of, you know, kind of passive and snippy about the users. Like they should just, you know, search or whatever. If YouTube doesn't do what you want, will you leave? No. You inform the user and you try to navigate and adapt to the changes that they make, like adapt or die. I've got to adapt and evolve with what the platform decides to do. The good news is these are likely just growing pains. They're attempting to, oh, that's cool. They added like a slant to the edge of the step. They are attempting to get better at live stream discovery and integrating live streams into the YouTube platform. That's really good news. Unfortunately, anytime something like this happens, we have to go through the pain, right? It's great to say I'm here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. That's a real competitive advantage. I would put that on a permanent banner. Yeah, I mean, we're considering reworking this. So there could potentially be a spot there that just says live streams Monday through Friday, you know, 9 a.m. Eastern or something. And then down here, we're thinking of moving away from commands and just saying, ask about my glasses, or follow me on Twitter, or, you know, order some coffee. More like, because if somebody sees this as a VOD, they're like, what the frick is exclamation point glasses, right? So we're considering reworking this. That's not a terrible point to consistently advertise like, hey, I'm here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Hey, I'm here every day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m., you know? Yeah, buy my yeah, I don't want to put that down in the corner. In any case, if you turned in for the Unreal 5 engine breakdown, we watched the video for a couple of hours now, and we will be shifting gears shortly to Trek to Yuma. Trek to Yuma is a really, really cool looking game. There's brand new gameplay footage I want to break down with you guys. We are taking just a couple of days break from Elden Ring. We got so deep into Elden Ring. That's another thing that could be happening. We might be compounding YouTube's changes by being like, hey, here's 3 weeks of Elden Ring, and we suddenly break from that. And YouTube might being like, oh no, what do we, you know, how do we recommend this content to the users that have been consuming nothing but Elden Ring for 6 weeks? So, yeah, if you like Elden Ring, it will return. It'll be a consistent staple, especially on Fridays, because Fridays is from Friday. So, never commented before. Your videos helped me get through the first couple hours of my workday. Keep up the good work, man. Thank you, Biorp612. I appreciate that very, very much. I appreciate it. If you guys are subbed, you know, smash the like button. I don't like doing daily goals, but it's just the reality of what we're doing. I'm going to give you guys some fair warning as well. We are potentially going to move into doing membership incentives on the different channels. We feel that enough time has passed, we can start doing that. Just know that we're going to put a lot of careful thought and consideration into the fact that some of you have memberships on both channels. Some of you have moved your membership over to gaming, okay? But I think after enough time has passed, it's fair for me to say, listen, I need membership to go up, and I can't do that if I don't give people a reason. So you might start seeing content or ideas thrown out there just to say, hey, we're going to do a weekly thing on this channel for members only. And if we do that, there will also be an effort to do the same thing over on Reforge Radio. So double dippers won't have any worry because you're a member on both channels. But people that move their membership, we want to be careful about the optics. We don't want to make you feel like, oh my gosh, I got tricked to move my membership and now he's going to start putting really dope content on another channel. Like, we are going to move toward that, okay? We're still going to do a daily show and daily live streams and not do members only in those streams. There might be a weekly extra piece of content on each channel just to say, hey, we need something to drive memberships. Like, I'm just being 100% real with you guys. 100% real. We need memberships to go up, and I think it's stupid to sit here and be like, hey, please become a member just because. Like, I don't think that's a good enough reason. I don't think that's a good enough reason. I don't think it's fair to ask people to be like, hey, pay $5 a month because I need to pay my bills. Like, at least when you order coffee or a t-shirt, like, you actually get a physical item, something that adds to your life. And, you know, supporting my family is great, but that can't be the only reason that, you know, the average person strolling through here is given to become a member. I don't think that's a good enough reason. Glad we all agree. I want Lono to succeed. It just can get a little presumptive to talk like me and Creature we've not spent literally a year or more figuring all this crap out. Like, we're not stumbling in the dark. We've learned some really great lessons, you know, and YouTube's fiddling with stuff. How much does it cost to become a member here? $5 a month. $5 a month. My wife said thousands of hours. Yeah, we spent thousands of hours figuring all this crap out. Mile High says, just received my coffee order. The stuff is great. Normally brew my coffee with cinnamon to help with the bitterness. Not necessary with yours. I love hearing that. Thank you, Mile High. If you guys are coffee drinkers, it's not a sponsorship. It's ours. It's in my home. We have a light roast and a dark roast. We ship it to you. My wife and kiddos bag it up and put thank you notes in there. And there's a great testimony from Mile High about why it's so drinkable. Really low bitterness, balanced acidity, extremely drinkable coffee. It will I'm not kidding you. A lot of people that switch to my coffee, they don't drink anything else after the fact because of how smooth it is. Very limited creamer needed. You can do cold brew. You can drink it black. It's excellent coffee. I sub because you added to my life. I get that, Lido. The note was heartwarming. Thank you. I get that, Lido, but I think from a value perspective, I've always prioritized value, and I just think it's stupid to sit here and be like, hey, become a member because we need your money. I just think that that's dumb, right? Now, yes, we want to sell a couple orders of coffee every day because, you know, it's a big investment, but you're getting an incredibly valuable product for a very competitive price, right? Chat with new people right now on Purple. Like, they must be so desperate for viewership. So desperate. Our refill of light roast is on the way now, too. It just shipped today. They're literally emailing, like, alt accounts that I made over there to come and watch. They must be really hurting for viewership. A derelict, dead account that never got used is getting emails. Come watch the Purple platform. I'll become a member once money is better over here in the UK. Listen. If you cannot afford a membership, that is never a concern of mine. I never want somebody to feel bad because they can't do a membership. I just, from a professional standpoint, I think it's incredibly dumb for me to be like, we need you to become a member because I have bills to pay. It's like, no, if you become a member, you're going to get a weekly members-only video, in addition to emotes, a badge, and increased access in the Discord. I think members-only content's fine. We just couldn't do it until now. I didn't feel comfortable doing it until now because, golly, those faces look insane. Because of the fact that we had to move the live stream over here. Chat with new people now on Purple. I'm sorry, that sounds like a... It does! Chat with new people today. Members only jackets. Don't change to where you can only chat if you're a member. No, we're not going to do that. No. I'd have to be streaming to 10,000 people, you know, before I would even consider. Maybe not 10,000. If we start getting into the averages of like 1,000 to 2,000 live viewers, you kind of have to do that, or you can't have a conversation. But at our current thresholds, I don't see a need to do that. That's a logistical thing. When you have 1,000 to 2,000 viewers, going members only on chat is purely logistical. Yeah, Creature wants to do that, and I said no. I said no. We have way too many names in chat that are gray that need to be able to talk. Like, we have to be able to have debates. We have to be able to have discussions. That's like literally what this channel is about. You start getting to 1,000 to 2,000 people, and you have to do that, or you can't have a conversation. Do you understand? I'm applying the same principle in both examples. If we have 200 to 800 viewers, I need to let everybody talk, or we can't have a conversation. If we have 1,000 to 2,000 viewers, you cross over into a threshold where, same idea, we can't have a conversation. There's too many people talking. Does that make sense? It's the same principle, but in both decisions, you're making the complete opposite decision. Right now, the principle of we need people, we need conversation, we need debate, or the show is dead in the water. You can't do that with a members-only chat. You cannot have a debate and a discussion with 1,000 to 2,000 people. You just can't. Creature says, some of the crap you guys say makes it tempting. Corey says, I think we're headed for longer console life cycles. I think the mid-tier hardware will definitely be much more prevalent, though. Can't wait for the next Tomb Raider game. I love those games. Yeah, the next Tomb Raider, Crystal Dynamics said that they will be making it in Unreal 5. They did say that. I was on Purple when you couldn't have much of a conversation. Lono only ever paid attention to Light Leap. Fairyman says you should do community events that are members only. Fortnite for just members. We've done that before and no one shows up. Can't have the time gate. Yeah, it's too limited. You have to have the game. You have to want to play the game. You have to be available during that time slot. We don't have enough people for that. A debate where it's me and you and we just yell at each other in funny accents. Yeah, that's gold content. Eugene says, I think each gen will end up having 3 models. New gen launches with the base model, get an upgrade in a few years, and another upgrade a few years later. The goal is to gain members, not lose them, says Creature. Is there an option to pay a one-time fee and not a recurring subscription service when it comes to member? That's what I can't afford, is something being taken out of the account every month. No, yeah, it's every month. Like, you could do it and cancel, but you wouldn't keep the benefits. You wouldn't keep the benefits. Another thing is you make sure those 1,000 are all talking before considering member or sub chat. Yeah, sometimes you can be in a stream, Rockin' Robin, that's a good point. Sometimes you can be in a stream with 1,000 people and you don't need to go members only because it's super dependent upon how active the chat is. You can literally be in a stream of 800 people and you can't get a word in edgewise. Like, it's not freaking possible, right? It all depends. If we continue to grow this at scale at like what we do, the people that fall in love with this and show up every day, imagine in a year if we're sitting here with 1,000 people talking at the rhythms that you guys talk in, we might have to do members only. Like, we're only going to do it if it's a need, though. I'm not going to do it to be a jerk. I'm only going to do it if we can't have a... like, it's going to be like, guys, this isn't working. We got to go members only. The chat's just buzzing, you know? So. Excuse me. You can prepay 3, 6, and 12 months. Can you not? No, yeah, you can do that. You can pay for chunks. So if you have the money right now, you can do it if you're worried about like recurring payments surprising you or something. Can they afford to make that many models? Surely they're losing money on these consoles. Yeah, I don't know, Ben. That's a good question. I really and truly don't know. I don't. Listen, we got to shift gears to the Yuma stream. We slightly turned this thing and the rudder on this. Just remember, we're here every day. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. And we hope you're enjoying it. We hope you enjoy the Louis C.K. stream later. And I'm going to just take a brief break. And then when I'm back, we're going to be doing a second stream with the Trek to Yuma gameplay. And we hope you enjoy that. And I will hit some ads when I step away here. I will hit some ads when I step away here. We almost never do this, but we only do it if I'm stepping away because we don't want to disrupt the live show. All right, I'll be right back. All right. Oh. All right, let's see. Let's see if we can get this second stream to be a little bit better here. I think the Trek to Yuma, I think they uploaded a new one. Oh, I'm sorry, Yomi. Trek to Yomi, not Trek to Yuma. Yeah, it continues to crush. PlayStation uploaded the trailer. They uploaded it again after it had already been on a couple of channels, and it's doing really well. So people seem to be really interested in this game. I think the game looks amazing. I am extremely interested. Okay. Hang on. Okay. I want that big white box. Let me switch the... that. And that pole. Line. I do miss doing 2 talk shows. I liked doing 2 talk shows when we did it. Like January and December. It was actually really fun. What's the new news for Unreal 5? They released it yesterday officially with a huge trailer. We broke it down and watched the video numerous times in this stream if you need to rewind. Right now, really excited about... Is there an official Trek to Yomi or Yumi? No, it's Yomi. Is there an official like Trek to Yomi Twitter account? It's probably just the developers. Really excited about Trek to Yomi. Let's take a look. Yeah, it launches in like a week. So if you want to go back and rewatch kind of the breakdown and some of our feedback, we got in a pretty big debate about like 4K and in 4K 60 and everything else. Trek to Yummy. Yeah, Trek to Yummy. Let's see. I'll hit Discord. All right, I'll put a link in chat. That's where we're headed, just in case the redirect doesn't work. Open the engine, play around. I didn't want to do that. That's not how I'm wired. I have zero desire to do that. I didn't download it anyway. Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. Doing a second talk show. Sometimes we do a talk show in the morning and then gameplay in the afternoons, but I wanted to look at Trek to Yomi gameplay with you. I wanted to do a breakdown. Lengthy footage was released, and we like to do this. We like to kind of like watch gameplay and videos when they're released and just break it down, analyze it, think about how, what we're excited about, what we see as potential problems. I am very excited about this game, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to go ahead and end the previous